This week's episode is sponsored by Change. Change is the #1 mentoring programme that teaches you e-commerce from scratch. Change has a real community with real results. I have been working with Ryan for many years now and have attended many of his events and retreats across the world and got to meet members and the amazing community of like-minded people. Ryan works with a lot of big names in the business world, helping them build online businesses and e-commerce. Change offers personal one-on-one support, no experience needed, but like anything, this takes time and is not a get-rich-quick scheme. If you put the work in, you will get the results. E-commerce and online shopping is getting bigger and bigger. This is a great opportunity for anyone that is looking for financial freedom. For more information, go follow Ryan on Instagram at RyanJB, and he will guide you through the steps to help you get started and build a successful online business. You can now follow me on all my social media platforms to find out who my latest guest will be. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're notified for when my next podcast goes live. And boom, we're on. And today's guest, we've got AJ Roberts. AJ, how are we, brother?
Pleasure to be here, mate. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you on. Military, done some time. Now you're out kind of speaking about the world, aliens, COVID, just how the world's operated, who runs it, kind of all this, down the spiritual route from someone who's served their country to them. It's different ends of the spectrum, but you'll tend to see a lot of military do come out and start questioning the world. I think with lockdown and everything that happened, I think more people are now waking up thinking, asking the questions, which is important, instead of just leading, instead of being just followed by the guidance that we're getting from the people in TV. You know, I think it's now important for people just to ask the questions of what and how and why, and that's just crucial, you know. But how are you, brother?
Yeah, I've been really well. You touched on a lot of things there, and I guess the last 5 years, I've literally been doing that. You know, from start one end of the spectrum, I was very much the observer, watching what was going on during COVID. I knew straight away before it even started, before we went into lockdowns, it was going to be a load of BS. I was actually in Sierra Leone with an amazing charity working with amputees and rape victims from the Blood Diamond Civil War, which, funnily enough, the UK had a lot to do with. So I was seeing things with my own eyes, talking to the amazing people there, and they were sharing all their stories about the false flags that had already been created in their country alone. So I'm listening to these people talking about how Ebola's been taken there by the CDC, by the CIA. The locals actually know this. Whilst we were watching videos of people in Wuhan body popping on the floor, leading up to us going into eventual lockdowns and stuff. So I worked out, way before it even started, like what was on our doorstep. And then, attending the protests in London, mostly, the sheer size of them, speaking to loads of people, doing lots of podcasts on the actual pandemic itself. But I was interviewing people who were, analysing data. I was interviewing doctors, scientists, people from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, showing people what was going on in their world during their lockdowns. Australia had a horrendous time, especially Melbourne. They were pretty much in about 2 years worth of lockdowns, treated like absolute cattle by robots. Police, judiciary system. It was awful. So I was kind of just showing the world, really. It wasn't a case of trying to get likes and stuff, because I think at one point I was probably one of the most censored people in the country. I'm on my 5th YouTube channel. Facebook got taken down. Instagram, I'm on account 2 or 3. Every channel pretty much, I had my stuff wiped. So the case to just keep battling and just really hoping that the people who are seeing what's going on would then share it as well. Unfortunately for a lot of people sharing my content got a lot of censorship as well. So But I think the censorship alone, not just for me, but for anybody who's experienced it. I know you've had Andrew Tate on a few times, and you know he's experienced like raw censorship as well, and how quickly the establishments can just take your accounts down. You know, especially certain keywords on YouTube, especially. You know, it was just instant bans, like left, right, and centre. You know, obviously because of their connection to big pharma and obviously what was going on during COVID. So, yeah, you know, to go from full spectrum, from reporting on stuff, being the observer, through then going through my own, you know, quite robust journey myself, from a spiritual aspect, from mental and emotional, you know, over the last 5 years has been a pretty crazy journey, if I'm honest.
Before we get into all the madness though, brother, I always like to go back to the start of my guests, get more of a bit of information about you, where you grew up and how it all began.
Yeah, so I was born in Bournemouth on the sunny coast. Used to be renowned for where everyone retired. Now I think it's pretty much like the drugs capital of the south or something.
Yeah, Bournemouth Beach is beautiful.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. You know, I do like being from Dorset. It's a beautiful part of the country. And my mum and dad split when I was like 8-9 years of age. And mum married a soldier who was quite local to Bournemouth, and we ended up moving to Germany. She got remarried to him. Me and my brothers ended up moving to Germany as kids. You know, really good childhood. I'm not gonna lie, it was great growing up as an army brat in Germany. Parents just partied all the time and just left us to grow up, basically football. And that was basically my life really. It was just playing football. That's all I was really interested in. I basically worked as hard as I possibly could to become a professional football player. That was the dream. And then when I was 16, I left school, moved back to UK. Wanted, you know, with the whole dream of playing football. Moved back to Bournemouth, lived with my nan and granddad. You know, settled in there, went to college. But then I injured my knee. You know, stupidly having a kick around on a Sunday night, and that was it. It was I damaged all the nerves down the left side of my leg, like into my toes, so I couldn't really feel anything properly for a good few months and that. So it's that cutthroat age as well, 17, 18, as if, you know, no club is going to take you on a YTS or anything else like that. If the, you know, if you've got any niggling injuries or you've got carrying your baggage. So that didn't work out. So I did what most lads did who didn't make it to be a football player. You know, the whole world's against you, you don't know what to do. So went drinking too much Charlie, hang around with the wrong people. I found myself, you know, really going down a slippery slope. And it was basically because of that. I was going past the recruiting office one day for the military, and I was in that kind of headspace where I was like, "There's something more to my life than this. Like, you know, I'm just bumming around. I'm much better than this." And yeah, I walked into the recruiting office and came out, signed up for the British Army at 19 years of age. I pretty much signed up. I signed up as 9/11 happened, and you know, I remember standing in the old radio rentals places, got the TVs and that in the front window. I remember watching it live there and sort of questioning things. But like, you know, I kind of stuck that in the back of my mind, joined the British military, which was kind of quite easy because I've been around it for many years, obviously being an army brat and that. And yeah, that was you know, as soon as the ball started rolling with that, things got quite exciting for me. I knew I was doing the right thing. I was desperate to get back out of Germany, like, because I just love the lifestyle out there, and love being in that central part of Europe. So yeah, I joined in 2001, started training in 2002, and then it was just you know, the usual, obviously off the back of 9/11 was the war on terror and everything else like that, and then obviously introduction into Iraq and then Afghanistan and you know, Sierra Leone and all those kind of places. And yeah, I ended up doing a total of 15 years in the Royal Engineers. You know, served with some of the most amazing people you can imagine, most amazing memories, most amazing piss-ups in Germany especially.
Typical army lads, but
Yeah.
So what's the engineers do? What's the role?
So it's more of a mobilisation, counter mobility, keeping the battle group moving, obstacle crossing, everything down to individual trades, and demolitions, bridge building is obviously a big one, construction, water supply, all that kind of stuff basically. I think from a sort of technical point of view in Iraq and Afghanistan, the engineers we did a lot of like bridge building, a lot of demolition. Obviously from learning demolitions, that's when I knew instantly that 9/11 was a false flag. And that was literally in 2002 when I'd done my training, and I wasn't alone on that. But yeah, from our role, lots of building bridges on operations. Obviously, from a training perspective, do most of the training out in Canada, because the training area is like the size of Wales, so you can literally like do what you want. So there's a lot of practice and detail goes into that as well.
What were you thinking about Iraq? Obviously, Saddam Hussein, he's a bad man. And the biggest, I think, I read it, the biggest cash robbery in history is Iraq. They took over $1 billion cash, the biggest robbery in history. Obviously, and that's not including the gold and the oil and all the other stuff that they took. But see, when you're going there at the start, very naive, fighting for your country, you see 9/11, you think, horrible bastards, terrorists, let's get it back, let's get revenge, because it's easy, we're easily manipulated. So see, when you're going there at the start, you're just thinking, I'm doing the right thing, I'm becoming a man, I'm fighting for my country, it's patriotic. Are you believing in the system then?
Yeah, so when that actually happened, I was questioning a lot of things then.
Beforehand, before 9/11?
Yeah, so I was already questioning just sort of like government in general. Like I was questioning the school system, I was questioning a lot of stuff before 9/11 even happened. When 9/11 happened, and then I just a gut feeling, I was just like, this just doesn't feel right. And I was living with my granddad at the time, and he was my greatest mentor. He was the second man to land on Juno Beach in 1944 on D-Day. Like, he's a bit of a dude. So I learned a lot from him in that aspect, and a lot of values. And I learned how to be the observer, basically. So when I'm actually seeing it live, I questioned it straight away. Obviously, then I went into training, 2002, early 2002, and then was learning all about demolitions and steel cutting charges. So it's like, they're literally showing us. So I was asking the people running my course, the corporals and the sergeants, I was like, does that not look like a demolition to you? And then obviously the precursor from 9/11 was then the war on terror, right? Straight into Afghanistan, straight into Iraq. So by the time I'm going through training and into my regiment and stuff like that, and you're gearing up for it, obviously prior to that, they were like, yeah, you all need your anthrax jabs, just like they did in the first Gulf War. And obviously we've got, well, I think worldwide, there's something like 500,000, cases of injury from the anthrax shots, across all the nations that had them. I was severely ill from them, like severely ill, like literally. And it wasn't just me, it was several other guys within the squadron were like really, really ill from them as well. So that made me ask loads of questions. It's about like, what is the purpose of this? Seriously, because is it to put the fear in there is weapons of mass destruction? So it's to get all the soldiers to believe in it, but like at what cost? Like, I've never been so ill in my life, but that's what, for me, that's what opened my eyes up to like all like vaccines across the board, and started like looking into them, childhood ones, like all sorts. So obviously I experienced that prior to 2003. So straight away I was already asking loads of questions. It just doesn't seem right. I really genuinely think we're going in just to take, the resources, money, oil, etc. And when you get there, and then everyone can clearly see there's no weapons of mass destruction. There's lots of people being kept busy doing jobs looking for weapons of mass destruction, but that's the optics. I was literally seeing it with my own eyes. And then you're seeing like loads of Americans there on contractors on $1,000 a day with their feet up, like, why aren't you out looking for weapons of mass destruction? So it was asking those questions then in 2003. And it wasn't just me, there was other lads as well. And funny enough, I still speak to a lot of them now, and they see the world for what it is. But I get asked a lot, does that not piss you off? Like, because, you supposedly, you sign up for this stuff, and you're there for Queen and country and stuff like that. I've never actually met a soldier that's actually joined for Queen and country or anything else like that. Most people usually join to make a difference. But if you ask the majority of us who are aware of the world, who served and stuff like that, those kind of questions, we're actually like extremely grateful for the actual what we've been taught, what we've seen with our own eyes, I think a lot of the people who don't see like that haven't actually witnessed false flags properly, or been part of it, or can see the agendas, because they haven't had that experience.
Yeah. You can understand how a lot of these countries are pissed off though. Like over 1 million Iraqis died.
Yeah,
women, children, just normal fathers, and what we did to that country, and this is what people need to understand. Like, we are machines to these people. They don't care. If you look at the streets now, it's full of homeless, majority veterans.
Yeah.
Majority of people who are willing to die for their country because they believed in the right thing. They believed it was the right thing to do. Yes, I'll do anything for the Queen. I'll do anything for my country. And then they're just a number. They're just a pawn in a game. And I believe some military experience, I believe going through some sort of training and some sort of like guidance is good for the mind. It's good for all kids. You don't need to join the army, but I think some regimented kind of styles and some kind of structure, it helps with the mind. I think it would help you get into your adult years, because we're all quite messy. We're all quite misunderstood. We don't really have any structure in our own lives. But I think if you learn how even as simple as making your bed and having a tidy room, like, it's so important for how clean your life will be outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, those kind of standards and values are kind of just lived by normally, and that kind of rubs off on especially the kids, for example. Not like mega strict sort of like room inspections in the morning and that, but it's just like if you just implement like the standards within yourself, same as anything, like the people rub off on that. So yeah, the military like teaches you phenomenal skills.
For discipline.
I can't grumble at that at all. But it's also the friends that you make. Often many for life. There's always going to be people within any establishment, that you don't end up really getting on with, or you don't speak to after a certain amount of time. Or that's the same in the corporate world, And the military is kind of very much like that. You're replaceable, just like you are in the corporate world. When you do leave, sadly, you are forgotten about. They do have programs and stuff like that. They're supposed to look after guys, but many rarely do. And this is why we do have a lot of homeless. You've got a lot of veterans that just lived and breathed the military, and when they leave, they struggle because a lot of them joined at 16. I actually had a period out of the military after 12 years. I've done a tour of Afghan, and then moved to Australia. With my then wife and children to basically do like project management, but I ended up running my own gym out there, so I ended up having my own company, running my own business, getting all that kind of experience, and on the other side of the world. But we got screwed over quite bad over there, so we ended up like cutting our losses and coming back. So I rejoined the military because it was the easiest thing to do to get a roof back over our head, protect the family. And I instantly saw the difference between in 2.5 years out, the difference in the military. So it was like quite kinetic, quite hot with Afghan when I left. So you're talking about the caliber of the men and the women who were like on tour was like real high. But when I left at that point, they were dishing out a lot of redundancies. They were really shrinking the forces down, and pretty much like all the top lads who were really switched on, they all kind of left. They all took that severance. But like, I'm not saying everyone was left in with shit. What I'm saying is you could see the stark difference in just the space of 2.5 years. And then the fact I was then, because I had that time out, I could then see in people who had joined the military at 16 how kind of like inexperienced they were with life in general, and that was kind of reflective in their day-to-day life. You know what I mean? It was like everything was about the military or nothing, because that's all they've known since they're 16. So from an observer point of view, it was really quite good to see that. And you can literally work out that the military really isn't interested once you leave.
Did you see many deaths in the military?
Yeah, like all kinds really. Like first time was children when I was in Iraq. It was by accident. Like we were literally going to go to a place to check on the people that owned it, because they were quite key to the infrastructure, to do with power and stuff like that. But like this poor guy's child was killed like, and it must have been some kind of confrontation. Obviously we weren't there at the time. Everything to my best mate taking his own life back in 2017. Through alcohol in the military. He hung himself in the sergeant's mess, and that in itself was a huge turning point in my life as well. because I did the eulogy at his funeral, and it was kind of actually in that experience where I wrote all the, it happens to us all, right? We all write this thing, and then we don't end up reading it out. We just do it straight from heart, and that's what I did. And I was like, my mate, who we nicknamed Fanta Pants, is he's there in a box behind us, taking his own life. I've got his children in front of me, and then loads of people we serve with. I was like, I need to make these people smile. So I kind of like spun loads of stories about stupid things he'd done, back in the day, and that, because I thought it was quite the place for it. And when you see all those people laughing and you're making them laugh, I was like, right, I need to do this more often in terms of speaking in public, because I can put my words together in a good way, motivate people and stuff like that. And it was actually his funeral that was quite a key turning point in going on to do like a number of talks and doing what I kind of do now.
So how long did you serve? 18 years?
15 in total,
15,
yeah.
which is a long time, especially if you're questioning stuff then.
Yeah.
Why would you stay in it so long?
I guess the military has so many good aspects to it. Like if you're switched on and you use it, like I got a level 7 in executive coaching and mentoring.
What does that mean?
Like, so it's a level 7 is like a
highest.
Yeah, it's like a master's. You're learning at a master's level. It's not like a master's degree. It's at a master's level in executive coaching and mentoring, which is obviously across the board, really. Mm-hmm. But you get enhanced learning credits and stuff like that in the military, stuff for you to use every year. And it was like hardly anyone was using them. I was like, yeah, I'll have that. And it, free qualification that's very very decent. Not saying I was going to use it, but why wouldn't you? And it's the same across the board in the military. All the adventure training that you do. I traveled to some of the most amazing countries in the world. Dived in the South China Sea with whale sharks. Been skiing in the Rockies, climbing in the Rockies, all around Europe, sailing up and down east coast of Denmark. Party every night. It's stuff like that.
So you were learning, growing. You weren't just a numbers game, just in the front line. Just try to utilize it to your advantage.
Yeah, to do what most people should do. You know what I mean? It's always been there in front of them. And any kind of course that was a coaching course in any kind of sport, I was always trying to just get on that. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than just sitting around on camp with your thumb up your ass. Yeah. I say that to lads all the time. Like, why are you sat here? Why aren't you like getting yourself on courses?
You said you were in Sierra Leone about a lot of false flags event. What does that mean for people who don't understand?
So false flag is an event that's caused by the same people that want the actual reaction, and then they've got the solution. So the classic, problem, reaction, solution sort of technique. So I'll give an example of a false flag from World War One. There's a ship off the east coast of Ireland called the Lusitania, 1915. Obviously, the war had started in 1914. Off the east coast of Ireland that was heading to England. On that ship was about 350 American civilians, like tourists, people, whatever you want to call them. Obviously a number of Irish and English, but there was tons of ammunition on there as well. And that was sailing for England, and the ammunition was going to be dropped off as part of that voyage for the war effort. A German U-boat was made aware of the position of the ship and what was on it. And the German U-boat torpedoed the Lusitania, and it sunk in 18 minutes with every person and ammunition on board. That ship was warned off by a certain British MP at the time to obviously knowing it would anger America, having killed all those civilians, and that's what brought America into the war. So they've created the false flag themselves. That's just one example.
Yeah, they've done it with the Gulf of Tonkin as well, for start the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
But it says, I think the Navy ship was getting shot when it came out that it was lies. And the amount of people that died in Vietnam as well. And I think that's when they started bringing heroin in, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you can see if you can see and understand the false flags, you can understand why these wars start. The thing is with war, we have to constantly be at war for DC, London, and the Vatican to be continuously making money. That triangle of control, let's call it. For them to continuously be making money, harvesting off us, and keep us working, keep us paying taxes, we constantly have to be at war. So that's why tax was invented for war. So for war efforts like hundreds of years ago, and they've just kept it. So,
It's big business.
yeah.
But they say World War One, World War Two was to reset the world, rewrite history. They talk about smashing all the bells down as well,
Yeah,
which is good for vibration, which is good
Yeah.
for healing. We don't have them around anymore. Like, there's so big parts that once you start understanding the methods, and it could all be bullshit as well. So I've got to be open-minded that what we speak isn't 100% accurate, even though we think we know because we read it or listen to other people. We could all be Looney Tunes. We could all be tinfoil hat, you know, but
Absolutely, yeah.
but it's people just to question it, just open your horizons and just understand what you're saying, what I'm saying. I'm only learning from certain books or people who I watch, and it doesn't mean I'm 100% right either. But the patterns are there.
Yeah.
This hasn't just happened once. It's happened thousands of times through history, through thousands of years. So it's something tells you that something's not quite right here.
Yeah. So like history literally repeats itself.
Yeah.
And, you know, you even have to look at the word history, like his story. You know, that's what history is. It is lots and lots of stories that are culminated and can be fabricated and can be put into textbooks and taught to us in a, you know, indoctrinated way, like we do at school, for example. You know, like we're only taught certain information at school about certain things. The same's in America. You know, they're not taught war history in America for a reason, because they don't want them asking questions, you know, about what happened in their side of the war. And like I was saying about the wars happen, and every time there's a war, or whether it's in, you know, Europe or the Middle East, ancient buildings and artifacts get destroyed. You know, the same was happening in Syria in 2010 when suddenly the whole of Europe flooded with migrants, right? So ISIS created this war inside Syria, and then they're literally blowing up with explosives all their ancient sites where there's no one there, and they're filming it all. You know, so ISIS are literally doing it. So even in 2010, it's still happening. Obviously, you've got World War II, World War One. There was tons and tons and tons of ancient, like what people call them Tartarian buildings. Tartaria is like a name of a civilization, you know, for those who've never heard of it. And you know, the reminiscence of Tartaria infrastructure is all around us. Like London is everywhere, York, you know, all these historical towns. You then have obviously your cathedrals, the major cathedral, Salisbury, Lincoln, funnily enough, where I live, I lived in Salisbury before, now I live in Lincoln. Spent a lot of times in both cathedrals. You're talking about the exact thing with frequency, vibration, and sound. I've done a lot of videos on my social media about them, like, and broke down the actual parts of the actual cathedrals themselves and what they're actually originally used for. Multiple things really. You've got like the harnessing of energy from the sun. You've got the to create frequency vibration in and around the building. People would have gone there for like healing purposes. And then the subsequent power that's like generated through the actual building, the shape of the building, how it's built, you know, it's perfectly symmetrical in every way and polished in every way you look on these cathedrals, right? Even to this day, yes, there's some wear and tear, but you can still see the intricacy and the finesse in them, right? For a reason. Like, well, the first question people should ask is, how come we can't recreate this today? That kind of infrastructure, that level of intricacy. So if you go in there, spend some time there, you can feel the resonance as well. And I'm sure anybody watching or listening who's been in cathedrals have felt a certain way or a certain level of energy. Just like those that have been to the Giza pyramid, you feel a certain type of resonance, type of energy. And that's what basically our lives would have been very much evolved about, you know, that frequency, vibration, sound, somatics. And that's how things were created and structured. Now everything's just grey and straight lined and flat and boring, isn't it?
Even with the pyramids, how it's linked to certain stars or points to the earth.
But one of the big things I've been so interested in and kind of a bit obsessed with is like the power of the land in the UK. And when you can understand the power of the land in the UK, you can understand what's happened to the UK, the social engineering, the attacks on humanity, this kind of manipulation into certain areas of ways of living, so that, you know, those people think that this is as big as my world gets. And it's all to do with like the power of the land and their lineage. Like, absolutely. Like, so if you've got the east coast of England, for example, and Scotland, obviously it's been renowned for, like, that's where a lot of Vikings landed, right? Back in the day, you got York, Grimsby, founded by Grim. You got the east coast of Scotland, Newcastle, Redcar. But if you actually look at these towns now, especially Grimsby, especially Redcar, and a number of other towns, they've all got wind farms off the coast, pointing straight at the land. Like the actual towns are just like absolute shitholes, you know. And I mean, the greatest respect to the people who live there, but it's all by design. You know, they're so run down. They're so like, you don't see men walking the streets. They're either head down, can of Monster, vape in the other hand. Literally look completely broken. They can't even stand up, walk straight. Everyone there's so unhealthy, and the kids as well. Like, I lived there for a short while before I moved to Lincoln, and I was just watching it all. You know, all the buildings are just so battered, run down. The beaches are battered. Like, they're just nothing compared to what they were back in the day. They've been completely destroyed.
What do you think the wind farms are doing?
The wind farms, like, they basically force the frequency onto the land. So just like the 4G towers, 5G stuff, the EMFs, stuff like that surround us, these wind farms produce the frequency as well. But then they also disrupt all the water. So it affects all the actual fishing, the natural fishing paths as well. So it affects the water. It's got all the electrical frequency, the lattices under the water. So it doesn't just affect the land, it affects the water as well.
And our bodies are 80% water as well.
Yeah.
Does that, you thinking wind farms are affecting the vibration in our body as
100%,
well?
mate. You only got to look at like the coastline of Grimsby, and it's all low income areas around there. You can see the people are like becoming more and more dumbed down. That you've got, and this isn't me attacking the people. This is literally, I could help every single one of them if I could. You know, you've got like a road that goes all the way down along the sort of adjacent to the coastline, Grimsby Road, and it's literally probably about 1.5 miles long. And it's just literally vape shops, Turkish barbers, fake grocery store, a Premier, Starbucks, Macca's. Do you know what I mean? It's just a kebab shop. It's literally just pure poison stuff for the locals all the way down, and they're always packed.
I think those shops have always been there before wind farms as well, you know?
Oh no, it's not just because the wind farm. I'm saying this, it's adding to it.
Yeah,
so I'm saying,
yeah.
so
Because where I'm from, Saracen Street, it was all bookmakers, Indians, Chinese, chip shops,
yeah.
pubs. That was it. There's nothing, there's no fruit and veg, there's no sort of juices, there's just all low vibrational, feel like shit, eat more shit, double down on it, and it's just a vicious circle where there's no getting out, because you're so dumbed down for 10, 20, 30 years, it's hard to then break free from that. That is difficult.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing here in the UK, for example, and it's countrywide. You know, like we travel around doing our live events and that, and it's the same blueprint in every town pretty much, just getting all the same. I've done quite a lot of videos on it to show, from a grid system, like how if you have a certain amount of low vibrational places within a certain grid, it affects the people, that vibration, you know what I mean? So they get sucked into it, plugged into it, literally like the Matrix, for example. So they get literally like plugged into that area. Yeah,
it's funny because the further you go up Scotland, the better you feel. Even when you travel down to the Lake District, you feel better. Is that because there's no many wind farms there?
But it's not just the wind farms. It's like it's everything about the land itself.
Energy.
Yes, this is why I always say this: the land here in the UK is the most powerful in the world. It's why it has a royal family like governing it, and a government like it does. The most roads are built on energetic ley lines. Most places of like worship and things like that are built on ley lines. It's all about harvesting the energy of the ley lines and the people. So if you're constantly harvesting the energy of both, you just literally got everyone in unison working for you 24/7 around the whole country, right? Whether it's village, town, city.
Do you think there's something under the land then that makes the UK so powerful? Because someone I spoke to yesterday, we've obviously invaded over 90% of the world, that we still owned like a quarter or maybe half of the world in the 1800s. We owned a big percentage of it. It seems to be becoming a lot weaker.
Yeah.
What do you think is behind that?
Well, I think going back to the land itself, it's rich in quartz energy. That's why we have the most crop circles in the world. You know, for a tiny little island, we have more crop circles every sort of spring, summer than anywhere else in the world, don't we, by far? And it's because of the quartz energy under the ground. And that obviously when that's positively charged, obviously then we're connecting to it in a good way. That, you know, it's one of the reasons why the oil in Iraq is so important, and actually the minerals in Russia are so important and stuff like that, because they're negatively charged, which means that we connect with them. So it's they need control over that. You know, all these entities are all connected, all the same governments, the big farmers, the big foods, stuff like that. they don't want us at all being connected to negatively charged oil, for example. So we repel with it, positive on positive. Just like the oil in our property, it's so deep, all this stuff, to keep us in a low vibration, and that's why Russia's always been such an important target for the West.
Russia's probably one of the most thriving countries in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you seen the people there? How fit and healthy they look?
Exactly. Yeah.
The women are stunning.
Yeah.
The best looking women, I believe, are in Moscow, Russia.
Yeah.
Like, they're unbelievable beauties. Just naturally, they're just thin. They're healthy.
Yeah.
Even the men are big. They're strong. They're powerful.
Exactly. And they walk upright. They're not head down. Look like they're broken.
But does that not get something to do with Putin as well? With being quite a masculine, I think he's a 6th or 7th Dan. He's quite.
Yeah, but
or is that because of the land? Like, how? Because Russia, we might see it in the news as a broken country or this and that. It's not. It's thriving.
Yeah. People
are doing well. Their education system is good. I think their crime and how they handle paedophiles not as unbelievable.
Yeah.
They seem to have it sussed in a lot of ways. We obviously see that. I don't really give a fuck for politics, if I'm honest. But when you look at the people and look at the leaders, they seem to be thriving more, especially the people in America and the UK. America's obesity is through the roof, so it's hard to then.
But I mean, if you look at like Trump came back in, obviously in America,
January.
Yeah, but like if you see the difference in the masculine energy that him and his team, it's not just him, like him and his whole administration were carrying. Like it wasn't hard to see this huge rise in masculine energy around the world, kind of like just take shape because of like what he was suddenly doing, the executive orders he was implementing, and all this kind of stuff, which will show people about a lot. It's about the energy that's being brought for people to actually stand up in their power and their authenticity and be the protectors and actually do stuff. That's what's been missing here in this country, and I've seen it with my own eyes over the last 5 years. It's getting better. But so when you've got a president or a prime minister or whatever that's 7th Dan, black belt in whatever, rides around shirtless on a horse and all this kind of stuff, right? That puts out all this masculine energy, not for dominance, but to basically show people what you can do. You're always going to have a much better following. But like, there's a reason why you never see a male MP of any sort with a pair of guns on him, a beard, a big chest, walks tall, and is like pretty good looking chap that men and women would say, yeah, I'll check him. Do you know what I mean? You never ever see that ever in British politics or American politics. Because they don't want raw masculine males put on a pedestal to create raw masculine males. It's easy to push the LGBTs and all the other transgender stuff and the transhumanism and everything else like that if you've got weak looking men on a pedestal that wouldn't question about chopping his dick off.
Yeah, well, look at Nicola Sturgeon. She's just come out as gay.
There you go.
Like, it's a fucking joke. Like, be who you want to be, but don't be hiding something. Don't be doing a Philip Schofield and try to pretend. Everybody knows clear cut you're bent anyway, but nobody's asked. But they shouldn't be leading. If you look at your health ministers as well, they're all overweight, they're all unhealthy, and they're trying to tell people how to eat and what to do. It's you're right, everything's backwards. And if you look at your leaders, if you look at your Boris Johnsons and other people, they're not someone who you look up to. I don't look up to any of them anyway. I think it's living your own life. But with human beings, we're always wanting guided. We're always wanting answers. And they look to these people and trust. And even though they're trusting them and they're just destroying their lives, they're not building it up.
Yeah, and that's the same across the board though. Like I think the clear and obvious thing that it does with politics in general, we're now at a time, I've never seen it more prolific in my life, where people are actually turning away from giving their power away to their politician, to their doctor, to the media and stuff like that. Like, people are literally questioning things more than they ever question things. COVID's done that for most people, because we all kind of live for it in our own ways. Everyone lived for it no matter where you lived, and made their own minds up on it. And I think, if anything, that period of time, especially over the last 3 years, has made people question things more than anything. And what we're seeing happening in this country right now is literally making people be brought to their knees. There's more people on the breadline than ever before. There's more people living literally week to week than ever before in this country, because of the direction it's been forced into, purposely by this government and its controllers.
Who do you think controls the world?
Well, my first best answer would be us. You know,
I think so.
and yeah, I mean, like we do and we don't, if that makes sense. So we do as an individual, how we create our reality, how we collectively create reality and stuff like that.
In
So,
a spiritual sense, but not
Yeah,
99% of people aren't there
yeah,
to
so
understand that, you know?
yeah, so as a collective, we can control the world. Like we you know, heaven and hell are just constructs of the mind. You know, that's been created by religion, but we create our own heaven and we create our own hell. You know, individually and collectively. So we can rule the world if we really wanted to, but that involves us taking our sovereignty back, and that involves us taking our power back completely. You know, from birth in the same countries, it's the same kind of blueprint. We're literally manipulated into a life full of like having everything chipped away at us. You know, so we're born with this amazing light, for example, and then we have it all chipped away from us during our life. Everything from when you get to school, you know, by the time you start school, you're all like big-eyed, aren't you? Just wanting to asking loads of questions, want to see the world. Within a year, you're being told to sit there, shut up, don't ask questions, put your hand up, go to the toilet. You know, all that stand in the queue. So we're brainwashed to that point anyway.
Yeah, the schooling system's no different from the prison system.
No, it's
You're
not.
sitting at a desk, you're queuing for your food, you're putting your hand up to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
You're locked in a room with no much light.
Mm-hmm.
You can't question the narratives. It's just all about control. When you see it in America, the prison buses and the school buses
Yeah.
are the exact
Yeah.
same. The seating
Yeah.
and the dining halls are the exact same. Everybody's in their own little rooms. They're wearing the same uniforms. Like, it is scary how
Yeah.
planned it is. And you go back to the John Rockefeller,
Yeah.
when they created the system way back in the early 1900s to create workers to work for the big corporations. They're not creating free thinkers. They're not creating masters of their own universe. And like you say, who controls the world? Of course, we can control our own reality. We can control good or bad. We are the government. We are our own gods. But we don't tap into it because everything's noise. Everything's static. Everything's backwards from birth. Schooling system, universities, learn this, do this, memorize this, eat this, walk this way, talk this way. There's not much individuality and creativity anymore. And if you have got individuality and creativity, you become a threat. And if you become a threat, you will be discredited. If they can't discredit you from prison, we know the kind of patterns, what happens now. They'll try and throw mud at you and try and create enough noise for people then not to believe what you're saying. And this is a society we're in, but like you say, life is beautiful as well when we can create it. But the rulers of the earth, and like I say, whether it's China, Russia, United Kingdom, America, they all work hand in hand. They're all partners. I had David Icke's son on, Jamie, and he was saying with China and having their system and everybody getting tracked, everybody's got facial recognition, digital IDs, and he's saying there's going to be a World War III. China's going to win this one so they can implement their ways in life, and it's easier for full control of the masses.
Yeah, so I personally don't buy into that, and that's been my
yeah, that's fine.
That's based on the research I've done, you know, my own reality. Like I was saying to you before, like countries need us to be in war to keep feeding the war machine. So going back to what you're saying about who rules the world, you know, it's people way above like governments and royals and stuff like that. People you'd never even heard of. You know, a lot of people have read into like the 13 families, you know, with the Khazarians and other bloodlines. Because that's a lot of what it comes down to is actual bloodlines and
banking systems.
Yeah, and keeping these bloodlines in check. But like I you know, I absolutely know now that the IRS is basically been taken over. You know, the Federal Reserve has been taken over. That's all collapsed basically. So
By who?
By Donald Trump and the administration. So you know, they refer to the Bidens, Obamas, Clinton stuff as the deep state or the cabal. So going back to our cabal, you know, I think David and Jamie like spoke about it previously. There's a cabal around the world that's been negatively running things or using us as little minions, basically, to harvest our energy, pay tax on everything, just get sick, fat, keep the systems repeating and repeating and repeating. You know, that's basically what's happening. That's the whole point of the school system: keep us indoctrinated with left brain information. Stuff that we never even need to use ever again when we leave school, right? I mean, you didn't do trigonometry on the way here, did you? Like, nor did I.
Nah.
So, you know, all those systems are in place for a reason. So by the time the person's an adult, you know, and they don't know anything about tax, they just like go along with it and go, I've got to get a job, I've got to go to uni, I've got to get the mortgage, I've got to get this, got to get that, I've got to basically be on the debt cycle. So then you've got everyone on the debt cycle. You've got the same countries running the same type of programs, and then obviously the systems that will encapsulate them. So I always use the terminology of like having everyone's head inside a box. So each box has got 8 corners, right? And so each one of those corners is a system that basically all works in unison to encapsulate the mind. So you've got law, military, media, even sport, education system, medical system, judiciary system, right? They all work hand in hand with each other to keep the mind inside a box. And that's why obviously we use the term think outside the box. So you're taking your mind outside of those constructs, and you can actually see things with a wider picture. So the idea is for the people who rule the world is to control as many minds as possible, and the mind control comes like in so many deep levels. It's built, it's tested. That's what Porton Down's for. As well as chemical and biological testing. They do a lot of psychological testing there, MK Ultra stuff. So it's how can you control the masses of the minds of the masses? That COVID was a perfect test of that, right? It's using the media, we could see how it was controlling people's minds. The majority of the country was sitting there at 5 p.m. or whatever it was every evening, waiting to be told what to do by Boris, didn't they?
And then outside buying pots and pans at 8.
Yeah.
That scares me.
Yeah.
Because even though we can speak about it, and even though we're still in control, we're still in the system, we're still on social media, we still have mobile phones, we're still very much in the system. It's trying to break free completely, which would be a difficult thing, especially in today's age. We need money to survive. Yes, we can grow our own fruit and crops and stuff, but we would still need farmland. We would still need money for certain areas and certain houses. But yes, you can build your own houses, but land's just as expensive. But
Yeah.
we're living in everything is control, 1,000,000%, and as much as we can try and break free from it, we're still very much involved in it. What do you actually think of Donald Trump?
So for me, like I know Donald Trump's a good guy.
Even though he's links with Epstein?
Yeah, there's lots of links with Epstein, but like I say to everybody, and I've said this to loads of people on social media, just go and read the book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It is literally a playbook for what's happening. So it's all about letting the enemy build their infrastructure up to a certain capability, get everything you need on them in terms of evidence for exposure and stuff like that, and then take the infrastructure away from them and their troops and their people within it, and reuse the infrastructure for good means, not nefarious means. So just because he's had a photo with Epstein, for example, doesn't mean he's pals with Epstein.
But he's had videos as well where he says that he was good friends with him and he likes Jeff.
Yeah, this is what I mean about The Art of War. So you big people up. Like honestly, I really suggest that everybody just read the
Yeah, I've read that before.
It's so there's so many plays in here from an administrational point of view. So as a president, it doesn't matter if it's Trump, Biden, whoever, as a president, you can be in a room with anybody you want, can't you? So it's like, if you're going to send people to build up intelligence pictures over a period of time, for example, if they'd already knew that he was going to be president, they were going to be asking to run for president, he'd be a very good candidate to start building a picture up on agents, wouldn't he, to bring it back to the NSA. And that's what I generally see as happening, because a lot of people forget that Donald Trump was asked to run for president in 2016 or 2015 by hundreds of generals in the US military, because if he didn't, or they didn't get a suitable candidate, they were going to carry out a military coup on the Clintons because of like where they were going to take humanity and where they were going to take the United States of America, post Obama administration and Obamacare and all the sickness around that. So it was never going to go any other way. So obviously by them getting him in, and I think if you actually think about it, he's the most talked about person in the world. He's probably the most hated person in the world if you add up the numbers, because a lot of people just say they hate him even though they don't know why. So the way I see it is he's like everybody else, he's just a character. So I don't think but you've got to look outside of politics. So if he's got a job and he's got the backing of the military behind him, as in the good military, not the controlled military that Biden was running. So Trump's always been in control of the US Marines, the Navy SEALs, and things like that. He's always been a wartime president.
But is there such thing as a good military?
Yeah, because they're the ones that are doing the work. They're the ones that he's bringing in now. Like, so he's putting them into cities. If you actually seen it recently, he's actually putting the National Guard into DC because of just how lawless it is. And you know, people are quick to forget like what the Biden administration did in 4 years. You know, they turned every city into a fentanyl city. They flooded the border full of illegal, you know, cartels, you know, to literally flood the country and make it even worse and worse and worse. You know, the executive orders that are in place, I always say to people, just go and read them. Executive Order 13818, 13848, which is to do with crimes against humanity and interference internationally with local elections. You know, that's literally happened in the last 4 years, you know, and this is why the Russiagate thing's now coming out about the Obamas, because of the 2016 election. But also the 2020 election was obviously rigged as well. There's a really good movie, 2000 Mules, that basically shows all the evidence of people in the Biden administration like hand stuffing loads of postal votes into mailboxes because the Trump administration have hidden cameras.
Yeah, I just think people at that level, I just don't know, nobody would get in the club unless they're willing to bend over and do what they're told, whether that's Trump, whether it's Putin, whether it's Biden, whether it's Starmer. They're all in some sort of club, and like you says earlier, it's not the people, their characters on the stage, it's the people behind them. So I don't follow any of these people because I think they're all full of shit. I think, yes, some can do good, some can do bad, but some of the stuff that Trump will do, other people they'll think it's good, other people will disagree with. I just think they're all sus. I don't really see greatness. I don't really see mass change. Trump never done any wars for the first 4 years, but he's starting to turn the key now, stuff like in Iran and other places. I just think it's all corruption, it's all greed, it's all power, and that's the way I can see the world. Unless someone really comes in and proves me wrong, and I do see mass change, I see human beings becoming better, becoming healthier, promoting the right message. Because right now it's still all wars and destruction. He's not done anything different from anybody else in my eyes.
I think so. Right now, actually, it's he hasn't started any wars as well. People got to remember he didn't start a war between Iran and Israel. He basically got Iran to show their cards to be able to de-nuke them.
But it did drop bombs.
But what I'm saying is that he dropped bombs onto
Iran.
Onto an actual nuclear
fire warning shots, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he took out their nuclear arsenal basically because they would have used nuclear weapons on Israel, regardless of what people think of Israel. That would have brought neighboring countries all in, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, all sorts. So that would have started a world war. Have they not taken them out? What it's also done to that Iranian regime is remove the actual snakes' heads that have basically controlled it since their regime was put in there by the CIA to implement Islamic Sharia law and make it a big thing. You know, so it's basically slowly diminishing that as well within their own country. Obviously, they're not at war now, and he's basically bringing Putin and Zelensky to the table for peace talks in Alaska. So from my perspective, all I'm seeing in this term is about collapsing war timelines. So there's no wars because that's all we've ever known is war.
Yeah, hopefully. And listen, I hope you're right. I hope there is someone to come in and grab the bull by the horns.
But that's what people want as well. People want
600, 800 years we've went. There was a time period where we went without wars.
Yeah.
So there can be good on the earth. There can be good leaders. Because with nearly 9 billion people in the world, there's got to be some guidance, there's got to be laws, there's got to be structure, there's got to be discipline somewhere, there's got to be leaders. But everything is divide. We know the old saying, divide and conquer, as cheesy as it is now. But all religions, all countries, everything's borders, everything's left and right.
We've probably got the worst country, haven't we?
Yeah, everything's divide now. Everybody's fighting and arguing.
Yeah.
Even a discussion. You can have a discussion with people not 100% agreement, and that's okay. But everything's, you believe me, you do this, and that's where the unrest is coming.
Yeah.
Because we're in the UK now. We've got 40,000 chapels, a Christian country, Christian nation. We've got 2,000 mosques. It's just divide. The mosques are probably more busier than the churches and the churches now, but everything's unrest, everything's divide because we're trying to force our beliefs and opinions onto other people, and that's where the unrest comes in, because then people think they're superior than others, and that's where I think. But like I say, I hope you're right about Trump. There's some great things, and I laugh and I think, yeah, he's on it, but I just can't see past the fact of becoming a president and actually being a good person. There's nobody I've ever seen that's been a prime minister or a president that's never caused unrest, it's never caused wars, it's never caused destruction. They've never really been good and never done any of that. He never done any wars, to be fair, in his first 4 years, but he did do other shit. And I just struggle to get past the fact that any of these people are good until I actually see it.
So I think we've got to remember as well is that all we've ever known is a government with a figurehead at the top, right? Ever since we've been alive, our parents, our grandparents. So it's like, it's only ever got to be played out one way. If you're suddenly just going to put some random guy and give him a title and say he's the world fixer, for example, people wouldn't buy into it. I think that's why it's a president doing what they're doing. He's putting all these executive orders out as well that are being implemented. And that's what I'll say to people, because I see everything from a military perspective, and I can see that we've actually been in a military operation in the last, 10 years really, worldwide, to actually collapse all these systems and collapse the deep state. You know, that's actually been the overall thing. Take the figureheads out of it, take Putin, Xi, Zelensky and Trump out of it, right? The actual overall thing has been to collapse this deep state cabal that has governed us and enslaved humanity our entire lives and beyond, you know, to keep us in this trap basically and keep us constantly on this merry-go-round, you know, our entire lives, and then having to cash in our house to pay for our frigging care in a care home. Do you know what I mean?
What do you think then for the next 4 years of Trump? What's your predictions?
I honestly think the way, speaking to my friends in America, and I've got lots of ex-military friends, Navy SEALs, stuff like that, who very much,
they love Trump.
Yeah, see things the way I do from a military operational perspective. I see things rolling into this country in a more positive way, like pretty soon, because it can't get much worse.
Yeah, well, what happens in America, we'll follow suit maybe a year, 2 years later. But I like the fact of no trans men or no men basically in women's sports. I think that's a positive. Like I seen that straight away, and I thought fair play. But again, I just think it's easy again to manipulate the masses because the majority of people think that way. When you change something like that, they think he's the right man. It's easy again. It's everything's manipulation.
Well,
that's what I see.
I think the big things being sorted soon, like removing all the shit in the food, cleaning the water.
None of that's happened yet though with Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm saying like for something to happen in this country that needs to be sorted out.
But even in America, with Robert Kennedy saying he's going to do this and going to stop that, they're still putting out the vaccines. And Trump was a big advocate for putting out the vaccines as well. Trump put America into lockdown, and that's another thing I look at as well. So I think if these people are really leaders and try to do the right thing, then this should be exposed. Like they should be exposing what was in the vaccine, how quick it was made. Bill Gates and Robert Kennedy's made a lot of promises, but he's not backed many up yet. So that's what concerns me until I see the full progress and what these people are. And these are potential leaders to lead not just America but the world, because what America says goes. It's a powerful country. It's one up there with your Chinas and stuff, but with these men, I just think hopefully someone pulls through, you know. And I'm a big believer in Robert Kennedy. I think he's amazing what he speaks about. I love all that stuff, but they've not done anything yet. Obviously, it's going to take time.
Yeah, it's going to take time. But what I'd like to see here is just like not us take orders from America, but the country take a lead from what's going on in America. So us have a proper health minister that's doing the same shit and actually getting the shit done. That's what I'm wanting to see here. That's where the people. This is what I'm constantly talking about all the time, about the collective consciousness, and like this how we create stuff is by getting people in these positions to actually implement change, not just sitting there waiting. You know, like I send little nudges to Ant Middleton all the time. You know, he wants to run for a London mayor and that to get rid of Sadiq Khan, and rightly so. But why are you waiting to 2028 to get rid of a fucking criminal? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just making people wait all the time. You know, it's just the country needs change now. Like, and there is amazing people in this country, like real patriots who love everybody, that can easily fill these positions, you know. And I don't see a government moving forward working at all, and I'm sure everyone else, you know, would vote the same. We don't need 700 MPs in, you know, penguin suits being paid, you know, 6 figures every year, doing absolutely nothing, and just, you know, rinsing every single treasury and bond and, you know, leveraging every blooming, you know, ledger that's in the background and their expenses and that.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need patriots. We need masculine men to take the role.
Yeah.
Look at Maggie Thatcher. As much as she's loved and hated, she's still fucking done things with an iron fist, you know. She still put some mass control on what should be protected and what shouldn't be protected, whether people agree with her or not. She still led by example, and she fucked Scotland over Liverpool, and I understand with like the tax and stuff. But
But I don't think we need ministers and all this kind of stuff, mate. I think, and I'm sure people are in this space now who would like to live like that. Is where you from every village, every town, every city has its own like sort of council, if you know what I mean. Not council as in like what we pay council tax to, if you pay council tax, but actual bodies of people who are experts in their field, who are brought in to actually drive the policies that the people want. You know what I mean? Not what they talk about amongst themselves and go, yeah, who wants to vote for this? Who wants to vote for that? Who wants to vote for this? You know, and that's actually like run at a grassroots level. You know, I see that becoming a big thing in the future.
Do you think there could be a civil war in the UK in the next year?
No.
I don't think there's a lot of unrest, one kind of bad catastrophe towards a woman or child. I think it could just pop.
Yeah, I think that's all, again, being engineered on purpose. I think
I think that's those stages that we were talking about from an unrest, like the solution.
Yeah. I think we're very much still in that space because, again, people can make that go away by standing up collectively and saying no. You know, like there's been many occasions where that there's proof that works.
But people are hitting the streets more than ever now.
Yeah.
And people are demonstrating and people are protesting against what's right. And people get scared, I think, maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even up until now, some people can still call you a racist for then trying to protect your own, which is so fucked up. But you'll see women and children hitting the streets now. We're one of the rape capitals of the world now.
Yeah.
You know, I think UK is second just behind America. Sweden, one of the most beautiful countries in Europe, has now become one of the worst.
Yep.
So the clues are there. And like we spoke earlier with the 3 different stages, I think there could be a lot of unrest, but with the unrest then they'll try and create a solution and people think, yeah, that's the solution. But I wouldn't even trust the solution that the government are going to make as well, because everything is planned.
That was the whole point of Syria in 2010. So you create the problem, right? So you have ISIS. ISIS is actually a fake terrorist organization. I didn't say fake as in they didn't exist, as in they were created by Israel.
Yeah, funded.
And Obama. And you know, it actually stands for Israeli Specialist Intelligence Service, ISIS. So what you do is you get them to create absolute havoc and war in a country that's obviously rich in indigenous land, ancient sites, stuff like that. Knowing full well you're going to disperse hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children. Obviously, Syria is then going to fight back. Military is going to fight back against this terrorist organization within their own country. Is going to destroy things even more. You've got hundreds of thousands of people ready to go at the border. Germany's like, yeah, we'll welcome you all. And I was actually living there at the time. And there was military quarters that were starting to get, like, older ones were starting to get filled up with these families and that. And all of a sudden, the attacks on women and, you know, army wives and daughters were skyrocketed in the town centre. So you got that sea of people coming from Syria all through Europe, where they end up, Sweden and Denmark. And, you know, they've literally flooded a particular area all the way through. And that's why Sweden's now one of the rape capitals of Europe, you know.
It is scary. What do you think of Elon Musk?
I think he's another character. Absolutely another character. He looks different.
Alien-like?
I wouldn't say alien-like. I think...
if you look at him, Zuckerberg, Bezos, they've kind of got those kind of...
I say more replacement, like their figures, like characters, like literally like movie characters, right? But they've all got a lot of things in common. You never see them really out and about on the streets. You always see them being interviewed or on stage. Same with Klaus Schwab. Same with Fauci. You only really see them being interviewed on stage and stuff like that. I mean, look at Klaus Schwab, mate. Can anyone else look more like Dr. Evil, like in a Dr. Evil feminine character? I think the fact that Musk has Tesla, but also has like your SpaceX and all the rest of it, I think that's part of future technology. I think having Tesla as a company keeps the name in the human consciousness, as in Nikola Tesla. He was, you know, founded free energy and all that kind of stuff before he had his patents pretty much stolen by JP Morgan and Rockefellers. And then we all end up with meters and smart meters in our house and cables in our home instead.
You know, there's some electric cars have been here for hundreds of years.
Yeah, hydrogen.
So they have that. Like, cars can run on water. They can run on fucking banana skins if they want. We can, like, the technology that we have and the day is become advanced that we can create anything that we put our mind to. And I think the man in the 1800s as well created the electric car. You see them all driving about with And then the man who created the engine, water engine, run on water, he was killed.
Yeah.
Like, everything is control. And I don't know if some of these people are hundreds of years ahead, that bloodline, because there will be blueprints, there will be scriptures for 100, 200, 500 years ago of how things can be created. And look at how the pyramids were created thousands of years ago. So the technology has always been here.
Yeah. Same with the cathedrals, mate.
Yeah.
That was never a hammer and chisel and a cart.
Of course.
Like,
But
that
different lasers
symmetry.
and different technologies back then. And I don't know if what to do is reset again, create wars, bring the numbers down, wipe out the world, but we'll keep certain, maybe a few 100,000 people, I don't know, certain families with all the blueprints again and how to lead and take control again, because a lot more people are waking up. How do you control 9 billion people? I genuinely don't think there's 9 billion people on the planet. I don't think that number's realistic. When I'm out in an aeroplane, obviously I'm not counting people, but everywhere's empty. Like, so much land. Obviously, you get into the big cities, London, New York, you see all these people, but I don't think it's into the billions, if I'm quite honest. And when I walk around Glasgow is empty. I don't know what the fuck has happened. It used to be a thriving city. The town on a Friday, Saturday night was absolutely mobbed. Now you drive along now, everywhere's one lane as well. You've got all these cycle lanes that nobody uses. Everywhere's quiet. Businesses are shutting down left, right and centre. Nobody wants to leave the house. I don't know if the numbers have went up through lockdown of deaths and they're just not reported, but something's not right.
I think people can't afford it for a start.
Yeah,
at the minute.
Yeah, possibly.
A lot of youngsters aren't going out like they used to, and they can't. They're not paying £6 a pint, are they? Like,
Steph was out £8 a pint last night.
Well, that's what I mean. It's just like, and it's not just beer; it's everything. It's crazy. But no, I totally with you. I don't believe there's that many people in the world. But I think you got to remember, in your reality as well, you experience a certain amount. Like, just like Fortnite or GTA. You're the main hero.
Avatar.
Yeah, you're the main avatar in your movie. So like, wherever you go in the world is like, you kind of build that picture up, right? It's like your own sat nav, your own sort of like GPS sort of system. You build those pictures up yourself. But like, if you actually pay attention, like, none of these cabal nefarious systems can work unless people are operating in them.
So is the cabal to you?
It's just a group of an occult that basically their main aim is to thrive off the greatest currency in the world, which is our energy, on every shape and form, in every kind of ritualistic way, without us realizing it.
What do you think of aliens?
What do I think of them? I know they absolutely exist.
How so?
I've had craft come over me when I was in my garden in Salisbury. I connected them a lot in meditation. I've connected them massively in plant medicine ceremonies. Channeled information.
What information?
Just about like stuff of where I was, for example, like when I've been on the tour in Glastonbury, I've had like dialect come through.
I had a witch
lots of time in loads of meditation. Loads.
I had a witch on just a couple of weeks ago, and she was speaking about Glastonbury. Apparently, there's a spiritual grounds there, something to do with the water. Someone messaged me as well, and something.
They got the well,
water,
so you've got the
there.
tall hill, which is like a mini pyramid in itself, which has got water underneath it, and obviously that runs downhill. You've got this like really nice spring, this water that comes out of the wells, like beautiful water, like if you drink it.
So you say an aircraft came over you in the garden, UFO.
Yeah.
Were you hallucinating? Was it on hallucinogenics or anything?
No. I've been quite sensible and surrounded myself with amazing mentors. Like people. I'm sure you have as well.
Yeah.
People you learn your best information from. One of my good friends just taught me so much to do with metaphysics and the Earth, the Moon, ETs, like different races. Quote unquote star seeds that people use the term for. And I've spent many an hour sat with him just in a field with a notebook and pen like a little kid, just learning. And it was not long after that he was teaching me how to connect with stars properly in the sky, and you end up seeing loads of shooting stars and stuff like that. So I was just sat in my garden just doing that because it was just where I wanted to be, But ever since a kid, I just always sat out under the stars and just felt more like home, And then I could see something in the distance that only slightly above the horizon. It wasn't like mega high up. And it was almost like some sort of like train tracks, like smoky train tracks coming towards me. And I was like, what the fuck is that? I've not seen anything like that before. And obviously, bearing in mind, I only got Boscombe down the road. So I was just like, it could be sort of like helicopters or something. But it wasn't. And it literally was a mega straight line came over. And then I could see the plasma field around it. It was only about 1,000 feet in the air. and it was right above me. But I felt this like energetic shift in my heart, like not a pain. It was like an energetic activation, like a heart activation, and took me back, like took my breath away a little bit, and then it kind of went over. So it kind of stopped, and then went off like that. And then the next day, I woke up to an email from some really good friends of mine in Australia, said that they wanted to interview me because they channeled loads of information about me. So I was like, okay. So I jumped on the interview, and they said about the experience I had. And I was like, how the hell did you know that? I hadn't even told anyone. So obviously they were tapped into that as well, that energy as well. Like, so I ended up having a chat with them the next day, but I don't get like mega excited about it. Like I'm just very humble with it all, if that makes sense. I don't say like, oh, I'm a certain star race, or I'm a certain this, I'm a certain that. You get a lot of people that, you know, talk about starseed races and say they're of this council of this and blah blah blah. I use all my experiences, all my knowledge, all my wisdom that I gain through the practices that I use to have the best human experience, because we're still here as a human, right? And then teach people what they need to learn for their journey.
And who do you think are in these crafts? Are they just computer run? Is it aliens? Is it different vibrations? What do you think?
Well, avatars for me.
Like us?
Yeah. Or our avatars. So, you know, I'm only talking from experience, and I can only share my perspectives, you know. So like, if this doesn't resonate with people, it doesn't resonate. But
yeah, it's not going there with a lot of people, because a lot of people believe in UFOs. I think it's good to think there's other forces out there. It's a beautiful thought to look out in the sky and think there's something bigger than us, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do believe in it, but if you've seen it with your own eyes and speaking about your experience, if you've not seen it, it's then hard for people to believe it.
Yeah, I can only give people from my best perspective. So, obviously, I've always had an inkling towards this kind of stuff. You know, my mum used to get us watch the X-Files all the time and stuff like that. But I always looked at it as sci-fi bollocks, because I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. And I guess, especially men, we're like quick to put the barriers up, aren't we? We're thinking, bullshit. I think I did that a lot around anything sci-fi, because I hadn't actually experienced anything until I was older. But as soon as I started experiencing things, and like I was like meditating properly, I was connecting to different dialects and stuff like that. You know, after quite a period of time, I was obviously sitting with plant medicines, having quite galactic, especially in Costa Rica. I basically saw us and all our community, because we built a big online community, like our soul fam, basically on a massive craft, all basically working together. And what was weird was, I think it was about 2 days before, I was saying to Corin, my other half, I was like, I'm telling you, like, I swear, all the people in our lives, like all our higher selves, are just working together, like on Earth. And she was like, yeah, you're probably right. And then I literally see it, like all the people that we were talking about, like avatars. So if we were to put it into perspective of like, how does that look? Well, if our avatars, obviously our soul, have outside of this plane, then our soul is here in this human vessel, having a human experience. So it's like, that's the whole point of having the best human experience possible, and basically not giving your energy away to all the negative stuff, because it's designed to take all your energy, so you don't have the best human experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, we all talk about, like, when you die, for example, like, what happens? You know, do you reincarnate? Where does your soul leave, or are you just a meat suit in the ground? Do you know what I mean? That's been buried. You know, and again, it depends what people's beliefs are around that.
Who do you think created us?
Well, I think we are all a fragment of the same soul. You know, of God. You know, God source energy, like God's spark, not a religion, but God source energy. So, and then we're all fractal parts of the same soul here, having a human experience on Earth. And so, let's just say there is 3 billion souls here on Earth. You know, that's 3 billion universes all happening at every single second. But we're just all so distracted, and it's all pure chaos, right?
Yeah. What do you think of religion?
It's purely there to harvest your energy and to distract you and to control the mind. You know, even in the word rely, ion is your energy. It relies on your energy. So that's why they say, oh, if you do this, you'll go to hell. Or if you don't do this, you won't go to heaven. Again, two made up mind controlled constructs of the mind to basically determine how you go about living your life.
Yeah, because if you look at Jesus or Muhammad or whoever, they're only thousands of years old. What was it like before then? What was people believing in then?
So Jesus or Yeshua, again, is another person. He my perspective is that he was very much here to show people how to raise level of consciousness, how to be your best self-healer, that you didn't need a government, or you didn't need pills and potions and stuff like that. You can heal yourself, and you can create magic. So he was just showing people an example of someone with a very high level of light and consciousness.
I do believe Jesus existed. I do believe he existed, but he's from, is it Jesus from Palestine?
Jerusalem,
but it's next to Palestine.
Yeah.
But then it's a Muslim countries as well, so I question that. But I genuinely believe, like, how can it be raised in a Muslim sort of country but then become Christian?
Again, that's the point, keeping that division going. Stuff
but
like that.
I genuinely think Jesus existed. I think there's many books out there to say existed.
Yeah.
I don't know to the level.
But then the religions hijack everything.
Of course.
So
the Bible's been changed over, 60 times?
Yeah. So we've got, what we call Christ consciousness energy within us. It's about tapping into that, and it's actually happening to a lot of people at the minute. This great awakening that's happening on earth that I, spend a lot of my time showing people how it's evolving, and have done as part of through my own journey as well. It is that Christ consciousness energy within people is starting to come alive. People are getting like heart activations. People are like, getting third eye crown activations. Very much waking up spiritually and asking questions about themselves, or suddenly they got a beating drum in their chest. It's like, you're not supposed to be in that job, or you're not supposed to be with that person. They're starting to really hit people. I'm seeing it everywhere now. It happened to me. I was married for 20 years and I'm with two amazing children. I ended my relationship a year ago, and with Corin full time now, doing our thing. But that evolution was all part of that. That's happening to people all across the board now, which is beautiful to see, because it's people are starting to sort of unplug from that deep levels of programming that millions have been susceptible to. It's not their fault. People are going through this slowly but surely spiritual awakening at the time that they predetermined as well. So no one's behind anybody. There's no levels. I hear it all the time, like, oh, this person isn't awake as this person. And that's bullshit. Like, we all determine when we do, and and what we actually experience.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we really have to remember. And that's why I love working with so many people, and building this community and doing our live events and stuff like that, because you can see that everyone's just on this amazing journey. You can see who, usually the guys are a bit like, I'll just sit and watch for a minute, because
scary.
Because it's the ego pattern.
It's scary. It's scary questioning things. And you look at people who's maybe in the little bubble and just going through life and following orders and working a 9 to 5. And there's no harm in that either. That's people's choices. It's what they believe in. And I always say, if you're just out there grafting and providing for yourself, for your family, you're winning. There's different levels of success. There's different levels of awakening. There's different levels of consciousness.
100%.
Everybody's on their own little journey. What we say could be right for us, but wrong for someone else. And as long as you're not harming anyone, it's okay. There's so much information. There's so much things we can gravitate towards in this life. I've gravitated towards a lot of negative in my life. There's so many times I thought alcohol and drugs was normal. For me, I believed in it. I thought it was the right thing to do. I used to look forward to it at the weekend with me and my friends, and just in this kind of little bubble of misery, but it was normal. It felt good. There's probably a lot of happier times in that misery than I would when life's going okay, which is fucked up. But we're all different levels, like you say, it's all different. But I just question everything. Like I say, I love these conversations. I love that we can disagree. I love that we can agree, same as anybody who I have on, because we all see the world through our own. And it's crazy. But what do you think of marriage?
Well, having ended a 20-year,
were you married?
Yeah, 20-year marriage. But it wasn't my ex-wife's fault at all. It's just that literally, I knew my soul wasn't supposed to be there anymore, and I needed to be doing what I'm doing now. And that's the power of listening to that drum. But again, I got married because I was completely in love with my wife. At the time. I wanted to have kids and stuff like that. Obviously, it was easier being in the military because you always get sorted out and you get a roof over your head and stuff like that. So I got married quite young. I was 21. But marriage itself, inevitably, you're signing a contract. You know, it doesn't really matter how much you love that person. You're still signing a contract. You can love the person just as much, or you know, if you're experiencing unconditional love, which is what most people don't, you know, marriage can work to that extent. But I think marriage tends to keep people in a role, and often that they don't want to be in, because they're like, I need to be the husband, I need to be the dad, I need to be the bringing the wage home every week, I need to be on the tools, you know, and that's why you see so many men in the state they're in. Not saying that every man is unhappy who's married. What I mean is it's like that kind of that contract over you basically can dictate the way you live your life. So, and it's often done under, you know, religious pretenses, isn't it? In a church, and you need to go on your knees and all this kind of stuff, and they bring the religion aspect into it, and all the vows and everything else like that. But I think if you're with your soulmate, your soul partner, you know, and you're literally experiencing unconditional love, there's no need to organise a piss up or, you know, sign a contract or anything else like that, because you've already got one between you, but, you know, more of an energetic level.
Let's come back to the alien stuff, because it interests me. Do you think they're among us? Do you think they're walking the streets? Do you think...
Yeah, 100%.
I know David Icke, he says lizard people and shapeshifters. You can see a lot of videos and you think, there's a possibility. Do you think
100%.
Other beings among us?
Yeah. So you've got like different star races and stuff like that. And then, you know, there's predominantly like what they call them Pleiadians. You know, a lot of them were within the Nordic and Scottish and upper North Magnetic high, you know, type humanoids. This is one of the reasons why it was so imperative to take Germany in World War II, and it was so imperative to flood migrants into Northern Europe, especially Sweden and Denmark and all the Nordic regions in the UK. This is what I mean about how powerful these lands are, because you have those type of beings here, typical tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. So walking amongst us, yes, absolutely. In terms of like the lizard people, the shapeshifters, yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's part of what the dark, the cabal are very much made up from. So, and do you know what, I'm sure David, I could probably agree. There's probably a lizard person within every family as well.
Yeah, I question my sister now that you say that, you know. But yeah, he goes on about reptiles, and it would be interesting if I seen it with my own eyes, then I could fully understand it, and I'm open to it all.
Yeah.
Like I've dipped my toe into ayahuasca, and I can talk about that experience in Costa Rica where the stars was like touching distance, but I don't know if I was just tripping balls. I don't know.
Did you say about 50,000?
I was on a journey, but I looked as if I could have grabbed them.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but then again, I'm hallucinating. But whether I'm in different...
But it's not because you're hallucinating, so you got to remember that you're seeing what you need to see, but in a higher dimension.
Possibility, yeah.
Because we're multi-dimensional.
Yeah, definitely. We're in the third dimension. Is it third dimension we're in now?
Yeah, so that's so you got your past, your present, your future, which makes up your like three-dimensional bodies. And that's why it's really important to be as present as possible, because when you're present as possible, like you're experiencing all the best stuff, you know.
You're taking it all in.
You're not giving your power outside of you, or you're not making up future scenarios, or
past or future.
You're not looking to the past. That's why I'll say to people, you know, like being present is exactly that. It's a present. It's a gift, you know. And you funny enough, you've already pre-sent the experience from your future self. So when you're sitting with plant medicines like ayahuasca, for example, you're basically your soul is reconnecting with the higher dimension of yourself. So that's why the medicine always shows you what you need to see, you know, on your journey, or the lessons, or, you know, the connections, or look at this, look at that, you know, or the ego pops up.
It was a painful journey for me. I was in jail. People were dancing and I think lucky bastards, like people were enjoying it, but I was having 2 and 3 cups.
Okay.
Like people were having half a cup.
Right. Yeah.
I thought, I'm a fucking addict, so I thought, I'm not.
You went deep.
I went 1. I thought, this is shite.
Yeah. And then as soon as you had this episode,
we had another one. Kind of like whistle, or there was something to say that there was another cup, and there was only
Yeah.
like 3 other people. There's like 50 or 60 in this room.
Really?
And there was only another 3 or 4 maybe went up and took
Yeah.
another cut. I thought, fuck it, I'm going for another one, whacked it.
Yeah.
And then bang, it was
Yeah.
showtime.
Medicine handed your ass, yeah.
Showtime, mate. The fucking roof just opened. But
Yeah.
I was in hell. There was a fire outside, like a log fire. And they used to tell you to speak to the fire or mention names. And I was mentioning my mum's name, but it's like so creepy, man. It's, for people who don't understand it, like until you experience it, you would know what I'm talking about. But I seen my mum's face, and you see all these past visions, and it was a fucking tough experience. Like it's 8 hours, and then the last ceremony was 12 hours.
Oh, really?
And that was deep, you know. And
that was your first time you sat with?
First time.
Yeah, it's quite deep actually, doing that back to back.
Yeah, 4 days, 8 hours, 8 hours.
Yeah,
8 hours,
I've never done it
12
before.
hours.
Yeah.
And the first time was 2 to 3 cups, and then I kind of every night I realised I'm going too deep.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to understand that. I wanted to. I'm a control freak as well. Like I always try and be in control of my patterns, my life situations as well, and I always admit that. But they were telling me to surrender to it. Like I would have 5, 6 shamans around me at night and saying strong heart, but you must surrender. And for me, I'm thinking I ain't surrendering. I was like shaking because I think surrender's quitting, white flag out, and I thought I ain't fucking surrendering. I was fighting against it. But that's where I was going wrong, I think, because I wasn't letting it control. I wasn't.
You weren't kind of. You weren't working with the medicine.
Yeah, I wasn't being vulnerable because for me, vulnerable is a weakness, even though when you become vulnerable as a strength. And
I say that to everyone all the time. It's just that having done this for a long time, and very much been in the shamanic realms quite a while now with Corin. Well, this is how we kind of work, and we always say to people like just actually think about working with the medicine. So ayahuasca literally wants to work with you through the breath and stuff like that. So you see what you need to see and experience what you need to experience. Sometimes, as you know, like on the first time and that can induce like purges and stuff like that, but the medicine is just helping you release what no longer serves you from the body. And it's the same when we serve Kambo as in the frog medicine. Obviously it's not a hallucinogenic or psychedelic, it's very much a purging medicine, but you're making people feel like they got flu for about 20 minutes. So it's getting people to push past that and actually know that they're working with the medicine and they feel absolutely amazing afterwards. Same as, you get that transformative experience with ayahuasca, like at the end, and you sat there and you're just like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah,
because that's why they give you a list of things not to do before you go. No sugar, no masturbation.
Yeah.
I think vegetarian.
Yeah, like alcohol and meat and stuff like
because if you don't, when you take the ayahuasca, it takes longer to get to the system.
Yeah.
And when people purge, people were shitting themselves, people were being sick. I never done any of that because I was going in a good place.
Yeah.
So I was it's not a case of you take ayahuasca and your life's amazing. You still have to do the work when you come back. It's a great experience. I've only ever done it once. Met some amazing people. But I did see people going back every month, for every 3 months, every 6 months, and I thought that's just not for me, because
they just don't need to go deep.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. I think you've got to try and experience it to understand it. It was a great experience. We've
got to put it into practice. So when the medicine's showing you like what you need to see, it's then about you then implementing that into your life, and then your universe then takes shape as it's supposed to.
Because people do go there, lawyers, businessmen come back and become yoga instructors. Because I was going to take Bonnie Blue, and there's a few other people I was going to take, but she was scared that she quit, like doing all the OnlyFans and making all the money in case you become a different person as well. So people do become scared of really changing, but I think we go to try and
we've got to remember though, medicine calls you, so it's like as you know, so like, it was actually your documentary that I watched before I sat with us thingy, because I think you were with a Scottish guy, weren't you? And he was in shit state.
Yeah, he shit himself and then he denied it because I seen him getting took away in his pants and I shouldn't have been laughing, but they called me the laughing Scotsman because all my time going through life and all the misery and everything, it was always laughter that got me through. Friends have passed away and I've been to a funeral, but something will come into my mind and I'll laugh. It's nerves as well, but the woman, the shaman, was very, like, I would laugh, but the whole room would go with me when I laughed, and she would go, and I would just be quiet. But then they pulled me aside the next day and they saying, like, very small boy. What we see laughing Scotsman. I think, what the fuck are they talking about? It says, small kid, small boy, laugh, laugh, laugh. And then the other guy took us away and says, because you're always laughing through your trauma. Laughing Scotsman. It's a very small kid, so you had to face it. And Cash, he came out and the guy said to me, Cash is away, and I'm thinking, where's it going? Because you grow connections with people.
Yeah.
Like you bond with people because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
see energies. It is weird, and I can only go from my experience. And he got whipped away because I heard them. I was laughing, but I heard him laugh. But I heard him farting. So he must have shit himself.
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Oh, I've took cash away." So I was looking out the window and I could see him getting carried right in just his pants. And then I said to him, when he come back, "You shit yourself." And he was saying, "No, it was a spiritual purge. There was nothing there." He was saying, "I could not stop laughing." And that's like I say, those memories. I'm glad I done the experience. I met some amazing people. I'm still in a great place. I still battle and I still struggle
Yeah,
in life. With this sort of environment and job that I do as well, interviewing people, it's a lot of energy, you know.
Well, you're taking on a lot of people's energy
Yeah.
as well. Like, and sometimes you, like, if you're not sure how to clear them and stuff like that, they can literally chip away at you, you know. But you know, like I say to everybody, like, me and Corin did a live panel at the Wellness Way Festival on the weekend, all about different plant medicines and stuff. And we were saying, you know, like, if you're called to it, you know, that drum's kind of calling you to it. So I'm not saying jump on a plane and go to Peru and spend 10 grand and everything else like that. You don't need to do that. That's a very American thing and quite a commercialized way of doing it. Obviously, if you're that tuned in with your soul and your soul goes, you need to go to Peru, then obviously go to Peru. But like, you only need to really step towards these medicines, not to heal you. What the beauty of them is, and alongside good facilitators, is that they both show you that you are your greatest medicine. You know, and that is like the most important message is like, you heal yourself. Plant medicines and facilitators and, you know, people with the knowledge are tools in your journey to help you get to those deeper aspects of you. You know, so I've gone from soldiering to shamanism. That's quite a big, like, crazy step, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually I'm writing a book now called From Soldiering to Shamanism, and it is a big step. But like, every time I sit with the medicine now, it's all about learning about the medicine. So my last ceremony was in June in a teepee in Portugal, where we take everyone every year, and it was all about watching the shaman, learning from the shaman how to hold the space, you know, prolifically. The music, even every single guitar stroke, I was just like, just watching, because that's the path that I'm on, you know, with my other half, Corin, and she's like, well, probably one of the most best people I've ever seen holding space, you know, with Kambo ceremonies and stuff like that. So it's so we know how much and how important it is that, you know, you only sort of sit with the medicines if you feel really called to it, not just because your mate's done it or, you know, you want to make a TikTok video. And it's really important about the energies in the space as well, you know, in that ceremonial space. You know, if you can avoid it, you don't want to be in there with like chaos. Do you know what I mean? Because you're having your experience. There's nothing worse if people are partying, like jumping around, moving about, you know, like walking off everywhere, screaming or shouting or whatever. That's why we like to keep our retreats to about between 12 and 14 people max, because then everyone gets the best experience.
What do you think of the universe? What do you think outer space and stars? What do you think of all that?
Well, you know, obviously the stuff they teach us at schools, like, to me, is a load of BS. You know, I was always I think all the numbers they use just bamboozle people's minds, and they, you know, the sun's 93 million miles away and blah blah blah. My daughter asked her science teacher like what instrument was used to measure that, and she got thrown out of class. Bless her. But yeah, so with the stars and stuff like that, you know, a lot of the stars in the sky are craft. You know, like as in ET craft, and obviously you can fixate on the normal ones, but if you connect to your own star family, it's all about sitting in your heart space. Just be really relaxed. If you focus on a star at night, on a clear night, it's a bit hard around London because it's constantly got a mist over in it. You'll end up seeing like loads of movement in the sky, like deep in the sky and stuff like that. So, you know, you got that aspect of it. You know, galaxies. Like I'm saying, we're multi-dimensional. To me, you know, there's other aspects of us that are, you know, actually experiencing things in other dimensions because we're multi-dimensional. We're just in this dimension, on this plane, we are having a human experience. But, you know, I connect with a lot of this stuff personally in meditation. You know, I meditate 3-4 times a day. Not every single meditation I do is literally connecting with, you know, galactics and that. Sometimes it's like, oh, what's left for my dinner? You know, it's very across the board. But you can take yourself to these places, once you start putting in the practice, the inner work. You don't have to go and sit with ayahuasca to do all this kind of stuff. I started meditating properly about 4 and a bit years ago, and now I teach it. I'm running breathwork facilitator courses and stuff like that, because the power of the breath, the power of meditation is literally your best medication, as I say.
Why is it important for people to meditate?
Because you're centering yourself, you're cutting out the noise. If you look at the average person from the minute they get up in the morning to the minute they go to bed, they're literally marketed to hell, because most people just pick the phone up, right? And then they've got 10 other people's DMs and their problems within the first minute of like waking up. You've got the chaos of getting ready for work, going to work, traffic, still being marketed, social media, Like, so if you see what the average human consumes in Western society, like information wise, it's literally taking you away from yourself in every shape and form, distracting you, poisoning your mind and your body in most people's senses. So just by bringing in meditation practice in, you have all the answers inside you. So if you're going around, every day in life going like, there's got to be much more to this. Like, this can't be what life's all about. Like, I can't afford my energy bills or to eat because my energy bill is this and council tax this and da 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 da. Like, it's because you're not centering yourself and finding the answer yourself. So just by sitting in meditation, you are literally creating what we call a 0 point within your body, so where you can then declutter the mind. And that's where all your best ideas will come. That's where your knowings get stronger, your intuition gets better. Your reality then starts shaping the way you want it, because you're spending the time creating it rather than it being created for you, by the TV, or outside influences.
What do people say now? Obviously been in the army, family man, to then talking about aliens and energy and meditation. How did your circle change?
Yeah.
Everything does change, but how do people treat you when you start speaking about stuff like that?
To be honest, like, I don't get, you get the odd negative comment on social media and stuff like that, but like that's all part of it. I like them because it keeps you on your toes, for starters. But initially, when I first started speaking out about COVID and stuff like that, for example, I had a lot of resistance, especially from people I served with in the military. I was actually had a WhatsApp group made about me. It had about 100 people in it. It was like the anti-AJ WhatsApp group or something like that. I was getting sent screenshots from a friend, and it like people were saying, "Oh, I hope his kids get COVID," and like stuff like that. Just teach the fucker a lesson and blah blah blah. Funny enough, a couple of those people in that group have actually been to my house for Cambo treatment since then. So everything's swung around and roundabouts. But I don't really get any kind of resistance. I get a lot of people now messaging me saying they think exactly the same as I do, like, because I talk about the matrix, I talk about the grid system, I talk about being plugged into it. That conversation is not for everyone, but there's a lot of people there that completely get frequency, vibration, sound. We're having a human experience. Everything that we've done up until this point is almost like our basic training for the next phase, creating new earth, which is what I want to see and will only accept. That's why I don't buy into any of the fear, the fear stuff. Oh, we're going to get digital IDs, we're going to get this, we're going to get that. I'm not allowing that to be created in my reality. And that's why we've got such a fantastic online community, that's growing all the time, and people think similar. We have weekly community conversations about a lot of the stuff we've discussed today. 1 minute we can talk about council tax, the next minute we're talking about avatars and stuff.
What do you think of the Matrix?
What, as in the movie or the actual?
Well, the movie, the two producers have become trans as well, but what do you actually think of the system? What do you actually think of the control? And
so the Matrix is basically I guess an matriarchal name that's given to a complete culmination of programs, and all of those programs are made up of multiple algorithms, and they all keep us encapsulated in this matrix, as they call it, which is then governed by controllers. So I've used some examples. The 9 to 5, for example, is a program. So most people are in that program, right? The 9 to 5, and you pay your taxes and everything else like that. You get taxed on absolutely everything. But that program is made up of multiple algorithms. So the algorithms in that program would be, you go to work every day, you take the same route, probably take the same vehicle, you get there at the same time, salary, give or take, obviously, depending on the situation, it's the same. So there's loads of constants. The schooling system, they're all set up like prisons. It's a program. Kids go there on the bus, they got a timetable, they wear uniform, so they're all the algorithms. And if you actually think about it, you could break down pretty much most of your life and go, that's a program, they're the algorithms, that's a program, they're the algorithms. But all they're designed to do, again, is to constantly harvest your energy and keep you plugged into what we call the inorganic AI matrix system. So the inorganic AI matrix system is like your mobile phone plugs you into it, for example. Yeah, just go to any bus stop or any tube station, everyone's head down, fully plugged in, right? More so than ever.
How do you break free from it then?
It's consciousness awareness. We always say awareness is key, awareness is key, awareness is key. So as soon as you're aware of the systems, as soon as you're aware of they're nefarious and what they're actually designed for, you got to have that level of acceptance as well. Yes, there's some good nurses and there is some good doctors in the NHS, but the actual system is completely corrupt. It's completely a cult. Victoria explained it perfectly when she was on here.
Yeah, she's great.
About what it's actually set up for. But then every industry needs its Trojan horses in it at the same time. The NHS and the midwifery system needs Trojan horses in there, like seeing it for what it is, to be able to show it for what it is. People need soldiers in the military that are actually quite enlightened, that see it for what it is. Same as government. Well, I don't know about if there's many enlightened people in government, but do you know what I mean? Every system, you need to have these people in there. They're on quite a rapid like awakening journey, for example, because they obviously need to be the way showers for the other people that are just starting to ask questions and just starting to get it, and then you help them rise, yeah, and then those people then help them rise. So and that's what's happening right now. That's why we're seeing every system you can imagine just being exposed for what it is at the minute. There's people in every industry, isn't there? Like either being interviewed or suddenly in courts, breaking these systems down.
What do you think of when they're bringing in 15-minute cities? I've not really heard any much about that.
It collapsed as fast as it was talked about.
Yeah,
so that's a great example.
That's a good thing of the power of the people. Strong.
Same with the NHS 100, right?
Do you think that's a lot of scare tactics, though, when people start promoting all this shit? I get this information, I speak about
it's like a human test,
and it doesn't really come into fruition. And I think, who the fuck even put that out there?
Yeah, but it was like when they put the fuel shortage out there, and it didn't even happen. But it was a test of mind control, right?
The toilet paper was the worst one.
Oh yeah, that was well.
That was everybody buying toilet paper instead of buying tinned food and pastas. Everybody was stocking up. You seen people with like 50 rolls, 60 rolls, and you're thinking you're not going to be wiping your ass if you've no food in the house. Like, it was madness how when you went into a supermarket, the shortage was toilet paper.
Yeah,
that blows my mind. But again, that's because the media portrayed that.
Yeah,
whoever prints those stories,
didn't they?
Yeah, they must laugh. They must let's scare these fucking idiots with this story today.
Well, look at the fuel one. Like, you can literally go online and search it now. Put fuel shortage. I think it was like 2019 or something. I think it was just before COVID, or I might have been into it. I can't remember.
I think it was just before that.
It started. There was no shortage, and the media started on purpose. And then they got a BBC reporter at a petrol station, and his name was Phil McCann. Like, they're literally showing you to your face, Phil McCann, like that, at a petrol station, talking about a fuel shortage. So we're literally testing the human consciousness, and that's basically what a lot of this has been about. Your 15-minute cities tests, as soon as they started talking about it, there was mass protest, wasn't there? They put these flimsy little bollards, the little wooden bollards with like a bit of rubble in, to say this is what they're going to start in the streets. It was just optics.
Yeah,
they were so cheaply made.
And it's good that people aren't complying as much now, but we are still very much in the system of when we talk about ID and digital ID, our mobile phone's got our banking, it's got all our photos, it's got all our videos, it's got our location.
Mate, we're connected to everything.
Yeah, we're still very much already in the system. We're not off grid, on our own farm, growing our own crops, no technology. Like, that would be amazing, but it's not a real world either. It's not. It doesn't seem real, because I've been growing up in the fast-paced world, fast-paced cities. it's hard for me to disconnect because I still miss this. I miss the hustle and bustle. I miss the busy streets. I miss the noises. In a great mind, I think, fuck all that.
And if you're a people person as well.
I'm disappearing. Like, I enjoy being around people. I still get tired being around people, but I still enjoy the interactions. I thrive most around people.
Same,
It's like a show, but I don't do it. Like, people phone me to do things. I think, nah, I'm not going to be there. I'll cancel a lot of plans as well, even though when I'm in those plans, I enjoy it. It's like a contradiction sometimes because I just know, it's like when I go to events, I wake up the next day hungover and I don't drink. It's like an energy zapper. When people are sitting around drinking next to me, it's like they're passing on that frequency of that energy, and you wake up the next day and I'm fucking drowsy. And I feel as if I've got a fucking hangover.
Yeah, but a lot of people take your energy anyway because of what you do. And you know, I'm sure everyone has people like this in their life. They're like energy vampires, where they see stuff in you that they really want to see in themselves. So they'll be like, and then you're giving all your energy around what they're asking or what they need, and then they go off like, yeah, cheers, James, and then you're just like, oh, good, or that. You know.
What do you think their main purpose is? The Cabal or the Matrix? What do you think they really want full control over humans? Because I think they're pretty much nearly there. They pretty much got us in control of the system, of having to work, of having technology. What is the thing that
it's constantly harvesting our energy?
Do you think there is really
stop in this lifetime? Like from the way I see it, it's all been about stopping people waking up. So if we talk from people use the term ascension, for example, the planet started ascending in 2012. So the Cabal knew this, for example. So humanity's actually started slowly awakening to the true aspects of themselves, to your true self, which is the number one truth. The number one truth. So this would actually be the reason why they do what they do, is to stop you realizing who you are. That the full aspects of you, your 12-strand DNA, because we're only like 2-strand DNA, carbon-based beings now. We are original crystalline 12-strand DNA, and we're kind of moving back or morphing, whatever you wanted to call it, into that alongside the planet's ascension. So the Cabal don't want that, so they try. That's why they target all these, cities with deep lineage on the west coast and east coast, all the Celtic lineage, all the Viking lineage, and then all those towns and that are so unhealthy. Why so many people are overweight? Why so many people are now relying on one tablet after the other? It feeds all the systems, because it's harvesting everyone's energy, and then the people are propping the systems up still. So if it forces people to work, people are working in jobs which prop up the matrix, right? So it just keeps that circle going. And that's when, we use the term like NPCs and stuff like that, non-player characters. Well, there has to be, talking about the population earlier, there has to be like a very large proportion of these non-player characters, because otherwise these matrix systems would not exist, right? They couldn't be there. So you've got to have these people working inside them or programmed to just go there every day. And not question it.
Have you looked into Antarctica?
Oh yeah, quite.
What do you think of that?
Well, it's obviously a hub for probably lots of future tech, ancient tech meetings. I believe there's quite a contingency of Cabal elements there, or has been there in the past. That's why you can only they take on little touristy expeditions to the outside, like the top left corner, don't they, or something? And there's like 100 different companies operating in that one tiny little area.
But they say there's more land behind the ice walls.
Yeah.
I interviewed a man as well, and he says there was aliens behind the ice, and it was them that was controlling everything here.
Yeah, so
it was interesting. Like I say, that's maybe a bit crazy for people, but you just don't know.
Well, I mean, look at the Truman Show, right?
Yeah.
The Truman Show shows you Truman, which is basically us, as in the individual you, having a human experience in the rat race, being all the programs running in unison, all the actors, all the NPCs, right? It shows you all, how they're all like on radio and all that kind of stuff. But where's his reality created from? The moon. So his reality is created from the moon. If you remember the movie, the controllers are on the moon, aren't they? Or their version of it. And speak to him like they're his god. They even control the weather. They do everything, right? They said the Truman Show literally shows you. What I was showing people the other day is, who created the CIA? President Truman. And and hence why they call it the Truman Show. The movie is showing you everything you need to see about how your reality is kind of based. But then he goes on an awakening journey, doesn't he? Like quite quickly, and works out that there's actors everywhere. And then next thing you know, he reaches the end of his earth, and beyond it is a completely different life, right? Which in essence is like what you're talking about, aliens, because it's alien to his world. So, you know, if rewatch that movie again, like, and you'll see every single little part shows you exactly how reality is shaped.
It's mad how some of these movies are kind of realistic. Even there's a movie called Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
We were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, and it's like, watch that, and then Avatar, which is important when you get into that little machine.
If you go down Chatham High Street as well, you can see people with 3 boobs.
Yeah, it's life is a journey. Will we get all the answers? I don't know, but we can always go through it. Like you say, you were married, army, totally changed path. Your path could change again in 5 years. There's people I know who's went left wing to right wing to left wing. Like, it's people change in certain circumstances, and that's okay. But you must just don't be 100% everything that you see is legit as well. You just question everything, you know.
So I don't say to people this is the truth, and I only share information from my perspective, like as part of the bigger picture, to help people maybe see things with a wider lens. That's all it is. I'm not expecting people to come back and go, oh my god, yeah, everything you said was right, ever. You know, because if you are 100% convinced you are right, you are right.
Have you ever looked into Project Bluebeam?
Yeah, a little bit. But
fake alien invasion.
Yeah, but I think they come as the Bluebeam comes in the same categories as like your 15-minute cities and stuff like that. So it's almost as if like it's something that's known about, but it's there to create this or something to expect.
What about Agenda 2030?
Well, I mean, that was always in play for a long time, but Agenda 2030, you know, was talked about pre-2012, because 2030 is actually when the planet is supposed to officially
align,
fully ascend. So
disappear, but they says that in 2000, I think, as well.
Yeah, but I mean, from an ascension perspective, it started ascending in 2012, and then it's prophesized by 2030 that it will be fully ascended, and everybody reconnected to a higher dimensional template, you know, outside of this control matrix template that we've been in all our lives. So people talk about 5D, people talk about all this kind of stuff. You know, it's not. You don't have to throw funny like sayings about it. It's just it's our organic template we're supposed to reconnect to, because we were plugged into the inorganic. Hence why we got this technology and EMFs and sickness and control mechanisms like the governments and royalty and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So people get there quicker by doing what we call the inner work on themselves. So, you know, taking your attention away from and giving your power away to everything outside of you, or worrying what everyone else is doing all the time, is literally working on yourself and your own development, and actually like who you truly are and what you should be doing. That's literally it. You know what I mean? It's that simple. And all that old stuff will start breaking down for you. You know, your need to attach to all this stuff, as soon as you start working on yourself. You know, and that's not selfish. Again, it's been labeled selfish if you talk about yourself or work on yourself. It's absolutely not, because it's your experience at the end of the day. So why wouldn't you want to give yourself the best opportunity, the best platform, the best knowledge and experience to have that?
What information do you think people could benefit from that you have?
I mean, to be honest, I share different information across like all my platforms. Obviously, I spend time on Instagram, and you know, my Facebook's actually doing all right the second time around, despite the censorship. So I spend a lot of time sharing information that's just going to benefit people with their development and their, you know, I guess their spiritual journey, because we all have one. You know, since we were kids, we've heard the term mind, body, souls, because that's what we have. You know, it's like taking control of your mind, your own mind, reconnecting with your soul, because then you'll realize why your soul's here, what your mission is, and what your journey is. You know, you can see yours is clearly like giving people a platform to provide information to people, so they can then go, right, I'll take that for my jigsaw puzzle, because that's what this is all about, right? It's about giving people the information to use what they need for their jigsaw puzzle, because everyone's jigsaw puzzle is different, everyone's movie is different. You know, you're the hero of your movie and always will be, the number one character, you know, the main person in GTA. It's just providing, like the game, getting the tools to level up all the time. You know, what do you need to level up? You don't need to know everything, Like, I know a lot of information. I could take you down fucking like a million rabbit holes, but you don't need to go down a million rabbit holes. You know, it's having an awareness of certain things that helps you see a lot of stuff anyway. So, work on your awareness. What's actually important, what's not important.
Is there any rabbit holes you've went down and it's really benefited you? Because when you go down the rabbit holes of one, you tend to then go down hundreds. But is there any ones that stick out and think, fuck me, like that's heavy stuff, or does nothing shock you anymore?
I think as soon as I started like really getting my head into metaphysics, this is just for me personally. It's not really about a specific subject, or an Epstein or something like that, but because that's all connected anyway. But like as soon as I went down the quantum side of frequency, vibration, sound, somatics, universal laws, things like that, as soon as I fully understood it all, I was just like, I can just see it everywhere. Like my reality is literally based on this. So everything that I was coming in, whether I saw it on social media or whether I saw it like in person, whatever, I was like, it's just being created by all these things working in unison.
But it says, with talking about vibration, they said it was a CIA who brought in rap music.
Yeah.
And they changed the beats to 808s, which is a different vibration from what is like 440 or something, but it was like 432.
Yeah, so 432 is the calming, healing frequency, which is what a lot of cathedral organs were tuned to.
Instruments.
Yeah, and instruments were, but again, it's another Rockefeller thing. Change is in the 50s. They made him change from 432 to 440, which distorts the cells. And I know rap music and gangster rap, especially in the 90s, they're basically, there's lots of evidence in there of artists actually saying they were called to meetings and stuff like that, and because they wouldn't sign up to it, they didn't get a contract.
Yeah, because when I used to listen to rap music before I went to the gym, The Game, 50 Cent, Tupac, Jay-Z. I used to listen to all that, but I'm in the gym thinking, I'm going to fuck somebody up here.
Yeah.
You're not going in a healthier state. It does pick you up to have a good workout, but it must release something in the body because you're coming out frustrated.
Yeah.
You don't realise that until I started interviewing people going, oh, wait a minute, I'll start changing that then.
So it affects your emotional field. Like, so then, you're in a lower vibration. So you're at fear, apathy, anger, guilt, all those like lower states of emotion. And if that's how you live in your life, that's then your universe then creates that, right? So again, they know all this. So that's why they were putting liquor stores on every corner in in predominantly black neighborhoods in America. And funny enough, the prisons were being privately owned. And so the more prisoners that they had in there, the more money that the people who own the prison earned. So it's just a vicious cycle.
You look at the Snoop Dogg, I mean, he looks terrible for someone in his 50s, the amount of weed he smokes, but it is glorified. Like, I used to smoke joints and listen to that sort of music and think this is cool because you're vibrating towards the same people who do it, and they look as if they've got a decent life. But they look at Snoop Dogg compared to David Goggins. You see a fucking Greek god to just someone who's a mess. Listen, he's still been successful, he's still done well, but it just doesn't look healthy, and people need to understand, like, weed is just as bad as any other drug on the planet. That psychosis and the things that are sprayed with now, it's really fucking with people's minds, and we use it as a drug to then be calm. And I know people who still go to the gym and still function on it, but it doesn't mean it's right. There's functioning alcohol.
People use it to mask a lot of things. I was one of those people. After I left my marriage, I was smoking a lot of weed just to mask the fact I left my kids. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guilt there, and I had that was my connection to my daughter. Do you know what I mean? So when I really, knocked it on the head, obviously it made a massive difference. But it also kind of demonizes the actual essential and amazing use for cannabis. I've done, used it as in from a medicinal perspective in a completely different way, and seen the healing benefits it has on people. So when you've got, again, celebrities or artists or figures that literally abuse the shit out of it and makes it look bad, do you know what I mean? So it takes away like what is this amazing natural healing abilities.
But many plants have got natural healing abilities.
But
look at the poppy fields, you look at the coca leaf, like they've all got. It's just how they're manipulated. People taking coke, people taking heroin, they can manipulate it to a negative. But I believe everything grown from the earth has benefits. The soil is so important. They used to go back like a couple of 100 years. I think the Native Americans used to date if someone was ill or not well, they used to bury the person neck down in the soil, and it used to used to suck out all the poisons.
Yeah. And to be honest, I've got so many good friends now who literally teach that to people on their own platforms on a daily basis. You know, as part of this journey, I've just got the most amazing friends who chip in with all this kind of information so well. One of my great friends said to me that all the medicine you need grows where you live. You know, and they're right. It literally grows where you live. Yeah, everything from the different mushrooms to you know, multiple different herbs and blends and stuff like that. It all grows where you.
Your fruit and veg, yeah.
Yeah, it literally all grows where you live.
It's mind-boggling how easy it is to actually grow your own crops.
Yeah,
But people haven't got the land. Let's be honest, they've not got the land. But everything that you can grow, and even having if you had your land, your chickens and your eggs, like the price of eggs nowadays is fucking ridiculous. I think you can buy a chicken for like £3-4.
Yeah.
But obviously it's the upkeep and stuff. But in a perfect world, everybody would have their own land. They would have their own space. They would have their own crops, and everything would be natural. But
that's why it's governed by the Crown. In
BlackRock bought a lot of properties up and
look at the stately homes in England
and
Scotland.
UK.
So all these pedo lords and ladies and that like prop up all these stately homes you're not allowed on all this like powerful land, especially in UK. And you know we're all pushed into our own prisons, aren't we? As in the new build estates. You know, so we build our own prisons and then live in them, and then everyone lives a box to box life, don't they? They literally live box to box, wake up in a box, get into a box to go to a box. Get into a box, come home to a box, watch the box on your Xbox.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what people's lives are resembling now, and disconnected from the land. You know.
What other stuff have you been researching? What other stuff do you think people would get not good knowledge from?
Honestly, like I just love anything to do with metaphysics personally, and you know the power of the mind. One thing I've studied for a long time is mind control, because when you can see the mind control in everything, you can see everything. You know what I mean? You can just you got the awareness of like what that particular thing is designed to do. I learned a while ago that Dr. Christopher Lilly in the 60s like designed a mind control technique through bringing two molecules together to hold a frequency in the brain. So they implemented that technology into the television and mobile phones and devices and that, so it sends a frequency to the brain, so it brings two molecules together, so then it'll hold that frequency. So that's why you see so many people gawping at the TV. Literally takes over, you know. So when I started like a few years ago researching that, and I've interviewed a really great guy, Jason Christoph, who's become a really good friend. He's a world-renowned expert in mind control. The guy's an absolute legend, Canadian guy.
Yeah, we need to get him on the podcast.
It'd be amazing for you, like the stuff he'll teach you about the different techniques, everything from the TV, the media, to like all of it, how they use mind control. You know, mind control is a really good one because it makes your mind bigger. So then you can easily sort of like research a lot more subjects and stuff that actually resonates with you. And obviously talking about resonation, you know, just frequency, vibration, sound, like learn about what these amazing structures are in our country, truly like cathedrals, all this kind of stuff. Like actually get around them, get out and walk in the land, and connecting with these ancient sites and stuff. You know, that's probably my best advice. Otherwise, I think if you can end up going down so many rabbit holes.
Yeah,
like
forget to live.
Forget to live. Everyone knows what Big Pharma's about, right? It's a cash cow for our health. Like if you haven't worked that out yet, I'm sure you will when you have a health problem. That's usually how it works. You know, so I don't think you need to keep repeating ourselves over that. You know, I think by not putting the energy towards it, that's what's going to collapse it. People can't get a doctor's appointment at the minute. Good. It's forcing you to like heal yourself. You know what I mean? And actually take control of your own health and your own autonomy. Obviously, there's a huge problem, probably the biggest pandemic in the world, with child trafficking. But again, if everyone has the awareness, that's what helps bring that down as well. You know, but don't spend too much time down that rabbit hole. It can really mess you up. I've seen what it's done to people, mate. I've been down it. Like I know a lot about it. I've never talked about it on camera. But you don't need to go down that thing. Have an awareness of it. You know, we know that government's corrupt. Don't pay attention to them. So just pay attention what sings to your soul. That's the only thing I can really suggest. Otherwise, you stay in these fear loops. You know, it's really easy to say like, oh, we're getting to 15-minute cities, CDBCs and digital IDs and da-da-da, because this person said, this person said, this person. Like, I don't buy into that whatsoever. You know, it doesn't sing to me. So why do I want to put attention towards it? So for me, it's all about, you know, creating big communities, getting this community feeling back, because it's all been ripped apart across the country. We talked about already, right, how divided this country is. It's probably one of the worst in the world. You know, everything from county border lines to frigging football teams to, we've got 90 different accents in this small island. You know, it's one of the worst places, plus the, you know, the introduction of all these ideologies from abroad and the immigrants and blah, blah, blah. It's all there just to keep this pot brewing all the time of negative frequency, right?
What do you think of the illegal immigrants? Like, I always state this, but I'm for anybody want a better life, and as long as they've got their passports, their papers, we know what you're about, willing to work. But with the rise in rapes and the rise in sexual assaults, and the majority is coming from illegal immigrants, you can't, the facts are there now, but why do you think they're letting it happen?
Same template as they've done through Europe and Sweden and that. Like, they know what the ideology is. They know what their belief systems are. They're very heavily mind-controlled individuals, for starters. So just like in the Matrix, the movie shows you, like, when you got heavily mind-controlled people, that you can control them. So I've seen a number of incidents over the last few days that's made me question, like, are they all coming in on dinghies? So, and these are just questions I encourage anyone to ask. Why don't we see daily videos of dinghies landing on the beach at certain parts of England? And if we were seeing them every day, why aren't there patrols of patriots on the beach stopping it from happening? Why isn't groups of patriots going out in boats and meeting them mid-channel? You don't see videos of that. What you do see, though, is loads of them being brought in on RNLI boats from in the sea. So it's clearly an agenda, and they're all fighting age males, every single one of them. They're coming in on RNLI boats. The odd one you do see come in, you can clearly see he's being filmed. You know, it lands on the beach, because there's no way, given what's happening right now, that people want to spot that, pop the boat, start filling them in, doing all sorts, right? Because the country's pissed, the country's angry. You'd see a lot more of that, but we don't. But you do see them daily getting brought in on RNLI boats. So the RNLI are playing their part in bringing these fighting age males in, or the numbers are stacked up as hard in because they're being flown in from elsewhere. So it's not, you know, the dinghies are like a bit of a distraction. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm saying it's a bit of a, we're looking over there. You know, if you actually look at the video evidence, there's hardly anything of them actually landing on the beaches in England and like running off into blooming, you know, the high street in Kent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But they're all transported to hotels. But are they being transported from the beach or the RLI base where they're actually being transported from? 3 years ago, I was getting phone calls because I was obviously heavy with the podcast. I was getting phone calls from people up in Wigan saying that they were being moved into a hotel up there, and that they were getting picked up every morning, getting taken off to do some training.
What sort of
training? Don't know, but by a proper security outfit, whether it was military or police training or something, some kind of training. 3 years ago that was, and I was shouting about it 3 years ago. But like, everyone was kind of busy arguing about masks and jabs and stuff like that, and to want to listen.
Deflect it away. See me, because I've interviewed people with the trail traffic and stuff.
Yeah.
It's probably the darkest thing you can go down the rabbit hole with when you start understanding how it's all connected all worldwide. And you talk
they're
about
the greatest commodity.
Yeah, adrenochrome. So you've got, obviously, it's not just a case of the drug trade. The child trafficking has overtook it, because you've now got harvesting organs, you now get prostitution, you've got all this stuff coming with it, and it's heartbreaking. But how bad do you think it is from your own research?
It's the worst pandemic in the world by a mile. You know, that's why the wars constantly need to happen, because it's constantly displacing women and children, you know, whether it's Ukraine or whether it's Syria or whether it's anywhere. It's a child trafficker's dream. You know, and I got a very good understanding of where they get brought into the country. You know, we've got something like 20-odd thousand Kosman Albanians that are unaccounted for running riot in this country, running trafficking rings, you know, in major cities like Liverpool especially. You know, they come into the east coast of Scotland through Europe. And again, like, there's people that I know that have been sending all this evidence and information, spent hundreds of thousands of pounds of their own money, like, you know, doing all the investigations to all this, like, to get it sent to MPs and the House of Parliament, MI5, the national crime agencies, all this kind of stuff, and it all gets squashed because it's just going to uncover like who in those departments is part of it.
Yeah, when you look at the grooming gangs here, that was all protection for votes, you know, it was all covered under the carpet for votes, and what these kids went through, you're talking tens of thousands of kids being abused, being groomed, and the predators were being protected for their votes, you know, because it's a big community of protecting their votes, so they just sweep it under the carpet. And like I say, it's scary times, but there's still a lot of beauty in the world, there's still a lot of good things, there's still a lot of
We've had Raja on the show, haven't you?
Yeah.
Raja's amazing. Like, that guy's just got like he's just got a shield of armor on. You know?
But you can see the strain in him. You can see people who speak about this stuff. It's a very dark force. I'm happy to talk about everything, but I don't stick on one topic because I realise soon it consumes you. It lowers your vibration. It fucks with your head. So how can you create change if you're a low vibrational being? So I don't mind speaking about every topic, any topic, and giving people an open platform to then spread their message. And whether people, like you say, it's a jigsaw, take what you want. Don't believe everything we say. Just look into your own stuff. Look into who controls it. Look into your pharmaceutical drugs. Look into even when we talk about the NHS, look into home births, look into your placenta, look into your umbilical cord, look into the schooling system, look into growing your own fruit and veg. And it is a lot, for fuck's sake, when people are working a normal job, providing, going through their own little life, going out for a meal and a drink on a Saturday night, and then repeating it on a Monday. By all means, I'm not saying that's a bad life. You want your own freedom, though. You don't really want to be working for anyone. But some people thrive more when they're being guided, or they've got a boss, or they've got a leader. For me, I don't want a boss. I don't want to be sort of told what to do. We kind of do our own thing with this. We get to travel the world. We've kind of got our freedom, but it also comes at a cost, because you're sacrificing your own time away from your own family to try and create messages, and hopefully people can take what they want from this, but hopefully it's a good message, you know. Anything we missed today, bro? Anything you would like to touch on?
No, I just think what's important is you know, we can talk conspiracies all day long, like every rabbit hole. He did this, they did that, they're culprits for this. Only the individual will make up their mind as into, like, if they, you know, like I said before, if you think you are 100% right, you are right. You know, it's your reality, like, you create it. You're the creator of your heaven, you're the creator of your hell. So it's like, what do you actually want from this, like, from this experience, you know? The ultimate conspiracy is who you truly are. So, you know, the mission should inevitably be like finding out what that is. And then you'll see that everything is designed from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed to distract you and keep you away from that. You know, whether it's a war gun on somewhere else, or whether it's something that's happening in your local school, whatever it is, or an argument on your phone. You know, everything's designed to distract you from reconnecting with your sovereignty and God. And what I mean by God is not a deity in the sky, is the God spark within you. You know, that Christ consciousness within you, realigning your body into an enlightened state. So you're in homeostasis. You're not inflamed and totally disconnected from yourself and the land. So the more people focus on that, you know, you can still totally enjoy your life, but your reality will be literally a carbon copy of what you make it. So what you're putting out there is what you'll get back. You know, so if you're constantly putting out negativity, fear looping information all the time, your daily reality will reflect that.
For anybody that's wanting to maybe get in contact with you, maybe ask you questions, what's your social media platforms? What's your YouTube, your Instagram, your X, Facebook?
Yeah, so I spend quite a bit of time on Instagram, Mr._AJ Roberts. I'm on Facebook, spend quite a bit of time on there. A bit of time on X, not too much, to be honest. But my main contact is our website, so it's missionconsciousness.com, because that is our mission, to raise the level of consciousness en masse. But like, if anybody's interested in our medicine retreats in Portugal, we run 3 a year, September, June and April on the Algarve. We run day retreats and that from our home. I'm very big on sort of like activating men and helping them reconnect with themselves. So we do a lot of work with Cambo and without. Obviously, I run like warrior day retreats from my home in Lincoln. And we've got an amazing online community on there as well that's, you know, just a big soul tribe growing of like-minded people who just want to who basically discuss a lot of what we talked about today. And there's always someone near where you live. We've pretty much got people from all over the place now, and so yeah, we're very proud of what we've created.
Good, brother.
With that. So yeah, if anybody wants to join us in our onward venture through the matrix, then yeah, please reach out.
Just before we finish up, brother, for anybody that's maybe stuck in a life of struggle, what advice would you have for them?
The answers are always within you, so turn the lens inwards. If you're looking to source the answer from outside of you, it's going to take twice as long. You always have the greatest answers for everything, and know what's right. You just got to connect with yourself and your intuition. So turn the lens inwards. Doesn't mean you have to suddenly meditate and sit on the edge of a cliff with a crystal on your head. It literally is that. It's like, just go within. You got the answers. Don't outsource the answers to stuff, because things will just repeat otherwise. And yeah, like I said, if you're not meditating, get into meditation. Never thought I'd see an ex-squaddie sitting here on James English show talking about get into meditation, guys. But it literally is, the best medication, as I said before. I can't stress that enough.
Like to finish up on anything else?
No, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity, mate. I think it's awesome what you do as well. You're putting yourself out there every week, and you've had phenomenal people on the show. It's a lot of people I know, people who are good friends. So it's, thank you for the honor and inviting us down, and it's an absolute pleasure. I've really looking forward to it all morning coming. And like my journey the last year especially has been crazy. So to actually come and sit on the James English show after doing a meditation at the Wellness Way Festival at the weekend, it's been a great week for me, mate. So thank you.
Pleasure, brother. And listening, for researching and going deep and looking into everything and questioning everything is a beautiful thing. I hope you're right about Donald Trump. For me, I'm just on the fence with them all until I see mass improvements and I go, you know what? He's the man. So hopefully good things do happen. I believe big things and changes are going to happen for the better. It might take a bit of time, but people are slowly waking up. So just keep waking up, keep questioning everything. And yeah, good on you, brother. Stay strong.
Yeah, cheers, bro. Thank you.
Bro.